Hello. Good afternoon. Janie's going to be up here as one of my guests, and hopefully others. Today is going to be a very interesting topic. I think it'd be unusual. It's about reflection, having to do with psychology, and how critical that is to us. I wanted to just show you, maybe this is a good way to do it. There's two forms of thinking, and that's what we want to look at today, conventional and reflective. Most of our problems on the internet and social media, and certainly in society and politics, especially in politics, has to do with where our minds are at. And they're generally in one of two places, type of thinking that's very conventional, or the type of thinking that's not, that's more reflective. And it's not to say that one is better than the other, but they're both very important, and if we understand them, we can probably begin to resolve some of our issues, or at the very least begin to appreciate and understand each other's point of view. So I did want to mention that. And Janie, I did send a link to you, no rush at all. I know you're taking care of some things at home. I sent it to you on our messages, so you'll see it there. Did want to mention something just came in to me. I'm subscribed to a young fellow in Texas who's a congressman. Oh, good, you got it. Okay. So I'm going to play a little clip of his, and this is a very good beginning to explain what this whole topic is about today on my live stream. And he's going to be talking about the war in Venezuela, but it really has to do with a type of thinking and how he approaches that. And might want to ask yourself, is this conventional thinking or is it reflective thinking? So here we go.
I was 12 on September.
I'm going to go ahead and start that over since I didn't have his audio up. So here we go.
Yesterday we saw flashes of the Iraq War. I'm 36 years old. I was 12 on September 11th, 2001. I saw the importance of keeping this country safe. As a millennial, I also saw how military disasters like the Iraq War robbed this nation of young lives, of billions of dollars, and of our moral standing in the world. How do you look a parent in the eye and tell them you sacrificed their child's life for big oil's bottom line? I've said from the beginning of this campaign that the biggest divide in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. And this new war is just the latest example of how billionaires run this country, run this economy, run this government, and now run our foreign policy. As U.S. Senator, I will never vote to send someone's son or daughter to war to make billionaires richer.
I think we need to start that one over, and I apologize, I didn't realize my headphones, I didn't have them on, so let's go ahead and try that one more time.
Yesterday we saw flashes of the Iraq War. I'm 36 years old. I was 12 on September 11th, 2001. I saw the importance of keeping this country safe. As a millennial, I also saw how military disasters like the Iraq War robbed this nation of young lives, of billions of dollars, and of our moral standing in the world. How do you look a parent in the eye and tell them you sacrificed their child's life for big oil's bottom line? I've said from the beginning of this campaign that the biggest divide in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. And this new war is just the latest example of how billionaires run this country, run this economy, run this government, and now run our foreign policy. As U.S. Senator, I will never vote to send someone's son or daughter to war to make billionaires richer.
Yeah, I think the key to that is Representative James Tallarico from Texas. His approach is reflective, not conventional thinking. It's not, love it or leave it. The president is right always in every case. No, it's critical thinking, reflective. And sometimes that challenges the status quo. Generally, the status quo is what conventional thinking is all about. But when we begin to reflect, take a second look at things and not get bogged down into, well, the president is always right. His word is sacrosanct and holy, and it can't be wrong. All we have to do is go back to Richard Nixon and other presidents. Welcome, Angela. Good to see you here. I'm glad you're here. So we're going to take a look today at, and this is a very important area, conventional and reflective thinking. This is from a psychologist. I do have a very short video I wanted to play that I made and just to share it with you. Now here's maybe another little meme that's important. This is from Socrates. Others have said it. John Donne, the Irish poet, has said it. The unexamined life is a life not worth living. We have to reflect. That's where conventional thinking falls short. If we simply co-opt our thinking, give our thinking away to someone who, well, Daddy knows better. Daddy Trump knows better than I do, or any other politician for that matter, not just him. Then we're stuck in conventional thinking. We're not actually thinking for ourselves. When I used to do, let me take this off. When I used to do presentations for adults or even high school youth, age 16 is when they were confirmed in the church, I would explain to them, I'd say, you've been told how to think, what to think by beginning with your parents and maybe your grandparents, trusted adults, even teachers. I said, but now if you're going to be confirmed in the Holy Spirit, it's time for you to think for yourself. That's extremely important. Think for yourself. So that was the whole idea behind what reflective thinking is trying to tell us. Yes, it's important to learn from others when you're young, but at some point we have to grow up, which means we embrace the task of self-reflection, which has to do, again, I'll just mention, on the right, reflective thinking. That's where we're thinking for ourselves. We're not in a cult of personality where well, so-and-so knows better than I do. Who am I to, buck up against someone else? They know it. They're smarter than me. Of course, that's conventional thinking. That's what gets you in trouble. That's what gets you bogged down. Reflective thinking, like James Talarico was talking about, is extremely important. So I did want to just start off with a little short vid that I did, and I'll play that for you now. Of the theories in psychology, and one is stage development. And this is not an exhaustive list, but these are the major players in psychology. And the one specifically I want to address is Kohlberg, and his name is listed there. Lawrence Kohlberg was a professor at Harvard for many years, and he was famous in the 1970s, starting out as a developmental psychologist, and then he moved to the field of moral education. Okay? So one of the things that usually gets people's attention is the discussion, or perhaps the debate about whether heredity or environment is one more important than the other. And actually the majority opinion today of psychologists is the environment is more important than heredity. Now they're both important. They both do influence our behaviors, our actions, and our being and our feelings and so many things, but environment seems to be a little more important. What happens after our birth, okay? So I want to take a look at perception, and everything hinges on this. How aware and perceptive are you? The cat in the picture, is it at the top of the stairs or the bottom? And of course the answer is, because you look at the spindles, the cat's at the top of the stairs. But everything, according to Kohlberg, is we have to be keenly aware. And if we're not, we're going to misunderstand what we see. It's critical, really, to growing as a human being. Without really accurate awareness, we remain stuck. Where are we stuck? In our past awareness. And therefore, our new insights are few and far between. And we have to be perceptive, and we have to be aware to continue to grow and learn as a human being. Extremely important. Okay, so this particular slide has to do with a very critical issue today, especially with all of the media sources that we have, particularly online, superhighway. And the media messages are blamed for a lot of negative social problems and, in fact, misinformation. So I haven't read there. The most important line for the entire evening is, we see things not as they actually are, but we see things as we are, perhaps with our blinders on, or our jaded view, or our views that are simply partisan. So it's very important to be honest about that. And again, below that, perception depends upon your age. How many experiences have you had? Experiences bring wisdom. What values were taught in the home? What are you perceiving and picking up from the media? And that can all be positive and negative as well. One of the quotes down there is by Albert Einstein. It's difficult to say what the truth is, but sometimes it's easy to recognize what isn't the truth or a falsehood. So we know the power and influence of peer pressure, certainly, even on YouTube in our communities, but the media, the superhighway, and non-vetted alternate sources can be, well, they can lead to brainwashing, particularly bad if they're not accurate. Okay, so what do we do about it? Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the major players in news, where we get information. Of your chosen sources of news, are they vetted? That's my question. Or are they nonpartisan? Are they objective? And are you looking to find sources to confirm what you already believe? Or is your mind open? Very important. A lot of these are time-tested and vetted, certainly like the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and different sources of news. But the new ones, the Johnny-come-latelys, like Breitbart, Drudge, Different sources like that, American News Network, think they're not really vetted. They haven't been around very long, and they are definitely of concern today. So it's important to be aware of that. So what do? Well, we have to verify our sources, right? We have to vet these things. And here's just a small list. I use Fact Checker and PolitiFact a lot, and then of course everyone knows Snopes. There's more than this. There's probably a couple of dozen different organizations that are with verifiable data and not filled with partisan op-eds, right? They're not partisan. And they're trying to push someone else's agenda, but just facts for you to consider and think about. Very important. Here's a picture of Larry Kohlberg. He's the author of a 7-stage understanding of moral reasoning. But really, you get down to 3 basic stages. Stage 1 is a naive stage from birth up till maybe age 4 or 5. And your family, your parents in particular, siblings, and maybe teachers, really are orchestrating how you think. And then as you get older, stage 3, for example, it's going to be a lot about the rules of society, even in your friendships. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. You let me borrow your bike, and I'll let you use my iPod, or whatever it may be. Bargaining. And then stage 4 is a reflective stage, or the beginning of it. And that's where we begin to move beyond a lot of the things that we've been given by our family and society, and to begin to think for ourselves. Extremely important, because everyone before that has been our teacher. But now we begin to teach ourselves, or so we hope we will do, right? There was a sociological blind study. I referred to it in a previous video. A university had $10,000 to give toward one of 3 causes. The war in Ukraine for the refugees. Would you want to spend $10,000 for that? Or students were asked, there's other students losing their grant at this university. Would you want to help them with that $10,000? Or we all need a new copy machine. The one that you rely on as students is broken, and our mainframe computer. So in a blind study, what happened was the students overwhelmingly voted for the mainframe computer and the copy machine. And what that tells us is that generally the thinking that people have, especially when they're younger, tend to be what is most important to them, or to those who are nearby. And that's why the people in faraway land like the Ukraine, that came in third in terms of what the interest was. So awareness begins in the human family and the community, and eventually it spreads out to beyond our local society and plays a part even in other parts of the world, where we begin to become concerned about other people than just ourselves. So conventional people follow the leader. To make it really short and succinct, conventional people follow the leader who tells them what to think and what to do. And reflective people follow their conscience. And a lot of people actually resonate in between the two. But the question would be, before you act, do you question and verify? Do you even question your own family? People who you've trusted your whole life? Are you willing to think for yourself? And that includes politics, education, the church, and other organizations. Or do you believe without question what other people tell you? Do you not even vet it? Kind of like the fish, the goldfish jumping out of the fish tank. Are you stuck in the water, or have you jumped out, and are you willing to reflect upon your former environment? And it's very important that we do that, of course. It comes down to, as I say, really 2 stages for human beings in their adult years, and that would be a conventional way of thinking, and meaning I am a follower, or a reflective thinker. I am a leader. I think for myself. And the transition to get to the reflective stage can begin as early as age 17, and they call it teenage rebellion. It's usually not completed until the mid-20s, and it often doesn't even begin until the 20s. It comes about naturally in young adulthood. And that's why the age of the draft I have here is it ends at age 26, because brain development ends at age 26. And oftentimes they can't shape a young mind in the military if it's past age 26 or older, because it's already formed its own views. And the military is looking to be able to form young people. So that's the reason for the the age cutoff, you could say, at that point. So YouTube, yes, very, very influential. It's a microcosm of human society, really. The community that we're in, and YouTube reflects what's going on in the larger part of our world. We got all the same pressures and concerns, and yeah, I think it's real life, just online real life. Real people, flesh and blood. We bleed when we're cut. We have headaches from stress. A lot of that happens online. What human development stage are you in? Now, this is the question, and we don't want to misuse it and say to people, well, hey, let's take a look at Molly Golightly. What stage is she in? Or Mallory, or someone else, or Stellar. You know, are they in a conventional? We don't want to pigeonhole people. That's not exactly fair. But it is something to think about for yourself. So the reflective stage is a time when a person is already able to look deeply into the various things that are important in our lives: social, religious, political beliefs, and racial, sexual, financial stereotypes. We're willing to look at that objectively, hopefully, right? I mean, there was a time when LGBTQ was something that was looked at as immoral, and I think the mainframe area of our own thinking today in society is that it's become much, much more acceptable. Not completely, but in many respects, there is certainly open-mindedness, and for many, they have come to believe very strongly in equality. And so YouTube conventional behavior would be, for example, I lie for my friends. I have absolute team loyalty. I'm willing to listen to just one side of the disagreement. I'm not going to listen to anyone else. I stick with my friends. That's conventional behavior and thinking. It's not reflective. It's not very far advanced from middle school. YouTube reflective behavior would be, for example, seek only the truth where you can find it. Loyalty to the truth is what we really should have. Telling the truth. Verifiable receipts, right? Willingness to hear from all sides. For people who are willing to do that, they're certainly interested in forming their own view and not simply following their online leader, right? Conventional ride and die morals, we've heard that. Hey, I'm ride and die. Well, that's a conventional view. That's middle school, high school. Reflective thinking, on the other hand, we challenge our friends to raise their game, right? The truth is what matters. Loyalty not so much to a person, but to the truth itself. So Kohlberg has 7 stages in more detail. I'm going to pause. You can pause the video when you go through this if you want. So I mentioned also, if you want to Google the Milgram experiment. It has a great deal to do with what this discussion is about. I was going to just mention the My Lai massacre in Vietnam for those of you who are familiar with it. If not, you could Google it. But it culminated in a post-war trial. Lieutenant Calley, if you remember his name, displayed conventional thinking and moral behavior. There was a corporal, his name was Bernhardt, and he displayed reflective thinking. I just real quickly mentioned to you, let me bring up an image of My Lai, because it had to do with, as it says here, as the search and destroy mission unfolded, it soon degenerated into a massacre of over 300 people, apparently unarmed civilians, women, children, and the elderly. And the orders were, and Lieutenant Calley took them, he said he was told by his superiors to simply destroy the camp and kill everyone in it. And there's a lot of reasons for that, as heartless as that sounds, but in time of war. But what Corporal, and this was, by the way, a trial that was held after the war, Corporal Bernhardt said, well, he couldn't do that. He was not going to kill innocent people. He said when he was ordered to shoot, he would just shoot over their heads and not kill them. And what a quandary, if you can imagine, that he was in. But he was in a reflective stage where he was thinking for himself, where many of the others simply were not. So there's a lot more to be said about this. I just want to maybe quickly, I won't go through these, I'll just show you them, and you can look at them yourself. Kohlberg's 7 stages. Stage 2, stage 3, and you can certainly pause on any of these to look a little further at them. Of course, I highlighted the more important and summary parts of them. And then the final stage here. Okay, thank you for listening. In the My Lai massacre and that trial, I was very interested in that, so I looked up the information on that. Lieutenant Kelly, after he just shot over people's heads, he didn't shoot at what he considered to be innocent civilians. He also said, and that's kind of a direct quote if I remember it correctly, he said, after that moment, he said, they were going to fight their war and I was going to fight my war. And that's certainly a sign of a person who is in the stage, ultimately, of reflective thinking. Conventional thinking was exactly where the Lieutenant Cowie was at. He heard from his superiors to eliminate the people in the camp, and he didn't question the morality of that. He didn't question the legality of that, right and wrong. He just simply followed orders, which is conventional thinking. But Corporal Bernhardt instead was very reflective in his mindset, and he was able to take a completely different route. Generally, the military would not like a lot of reflective people because they don't know if they can count on them to take orders. But we heard recently in our 7 or 8 Congress people stating publicly, you do not have to obey illegal orders. In fact, it's not patriotic to do that. It's not constitutional to go against what is illegal in our government. So there's a lot more to be said about that. But it does reveal to us what conventional thinking is about and what reflective thinking is about. Janie, are you there? Oh, I thought I heard something in the back. I don't think she is yet. So let's just get us started here a little bit. In our comings and goings on YouTube, we oftentimes run into a lot of personal inner conflict, and happens every day, multiple times during the day. And a lot of it stems from, in fact, I would say almost, maybe not all of it, almost all of it, comes from really a failure for us to really understand the other person, where they're coming from. And if we were able to self-reflect, that would be such a eye-opener for all of us, and maybe the path toward beginning, at least, to seek out some personal understanding. A psychologist that I am, you can find him here on YouTube. He's passed away, but he's a contemporary of our own time. His name is Anthony DeMello. He's also a Jesuit priest. Anthony DeMello was a psychologist. And he put it this way. He said, human beings are unusual in many ways. But he said, we're born asleep. When he said we're born asleep, he's saying that we're not reflective right off the bat. We simply echo. That's how we learn language. We echo back what our mothers and fathers, dad, mama, all of that. We echo, and we're reflecting back someone else's communication to us. But eventually we reach a point where we're not just conventionally echoing back, but we're actually reflective. But he says we're born asleep because we're not thinking for ourselves right off the bat. In fact, we sometimes go to our school and study in our sleep. We get married in our sleep. Sometimes we breed children in our sleep. And he went on to say, and we live our entire life never fully waking up, and what a tragedy that is. When he means not waking up, he's saying to be able to think for yourself, to open our eyes and look around us and see what's actually happening, and not simply echo back a conventional thought from someone else who you've deferred and given your thoughts to, and that's the great tragedy. Imagine living your whole life never waking up to the reality that you have a mind of your own. Your thoughts are important. Don't give them away. And begin to think for yourself how critically important that is. Yeah, we're born asleep. Isn't that interesting, Angela? I thought he put that quite well. It's kind of hard, well, maybe it wouldn't be that hard, but it's rare to find Anthony DeMello's annotations and his thoughts, but if you were to type, well, let me put his name in here so it's spelled right. If anybody was interested, it wouldn't be a waste of your time, that's for sure. Anthony DeMello. He was actually born in India. Jesuit priest and a psychologist, philosopher, wonderful writer. He gave many presentations. Last one he gave actually was at in New York City at Fordham University, and you might find some actual video of that. There are some that's still there. Mostly it's audio tape. He was rather controversial in the church as well, but then again, conventional people tend to be, they go along, but reflective people like DeMello tend to be controversial because they're thinking for themselves, and that'll get you in trouble every time. And it certainly got him in trouble at times with the church, as did people like Père Terre de Chardin, the great Jesuit paleontologist, scientist. Paleontology is a subset of biology, and he was ostracized in China. So when you're reflective in your thinking, you're thinking out of the box, and you're thinking for yourself. And they say every great idea first begins as a blasphemy. And certainly with Desjardins and Anthony DeMello and among others, Einstein, you name them, they're going to get in trouble. Martin Luther King Jr., or whoever it may be, these people who are thinking outside the box are thinking unconventionally, and their thoughts are going to be brand new and disruptive and bothersome, to say the least, for a lot of people. So that's just a few thoughts to get us started. I wanted to share a little bit about some of stage development in psychology. I could bring up, let me see if I have it here. This is kind of an overview of psychology in general. Now, I don't have Lawrence Kohlberg's name here, but if it were here, I believe it would fit under cognitive, which is fourth one down, or it could fit under, behavioral as well, or existential. The last one, I have that highlighted because I'm going to do some upcoming live streams on existential psychology. My interest area is psychology, spirituality, as well as science. So I do want to cover that in the future. A little bit on Viktor Frankl, psychologist, and Kazimir Dabrowski, who I just missed meeting. I was a student at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, and he was there about 8 years before I started my studies there. But anyway, Rollo May as well, existential psychology, but that's in the future. So I just wanted to, Anthony DeMello died, oh boy, I don't have the date of birth on the tip of my tongue here, but I would say probably 25, 30 years ago. That might be in the ballpark, somewhere around there, I would say. He was probably in his early 50s. He died rather suddenly. I think it had to do with the heart. But again, I would have to do more research to be exactly certain of that. Rediscovering, thank you, Angela. Anthony DeMello. Yeah. I think that it would be, wouldn't be a waste of your time to check that out. Anthony DeMello was, I would say, very much ahead of his time in terms of, and he's very, some people who write books are readable. When you speak, he's very understandable. I think you'd find him to your liking. Yeah, he was. There's so much to say about him. But he has affected my thinking as much as anybody that I can mention, Anthony DeMello. So let's see. So I did want to bring up, these are the 7 stages. We're looking at Lawrence Kohlberg's, he was at Harvard, as I mentioned earlier, professor. And Kohlberg had the 7 stages of moral development and roughly 4 or 5 stages of cognitive understanding. And generally there's just 2. And I like I say, I'll just continue to, this may be new to some folks, I don't know, but as I mentioned, generally it boils down to 2. Either you think conventionally, the way people tell you to think, or you think out of the box. Conventional people are when it comes to America and politics, they're going to be the ones that'll say love it or leave it, you know. But I mean, they mean well, but they're not thinking for themselves. They're simply letting other people dictate what they think. And reflective people are challenging everything, and that's very, very important for us to do. Janie, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, good. Welcome. Good to
Okay,
see you.
good to see you too. I want to let you know things are calm for the moment, but they will be bringing in groceries and stuff. So if things get crazy again, I'll just mute.
All right. I put your image up here. Maybe I made it too big. Is that too big? I don't want you to. Here, I'll do it again. There we go. But it's great having you here. Everybody knows, I'm sure most people know Janie Bobaney. And Janie, you have a. Yeah, go right ahead.
I apologize for being late.
Oh, no, don't even worry about that. You're not late at all. I had to run my mouth for a while. Everybody expects that. But I'm so glad you're here. And I wanted to please feel free if you want to expand on in any way or continue a discussion that happened a while back, not very long ago, having to do with your credentials, your history, your experience as a therapist. Absolutely feel free to have the floor to do that. You and I have known each other for years, and you're a good friend. I have the utmost respect for you. And if you didn't get that opportunity to fully flesh out what you wanted to say about that, then this is also a platform. I would welcome you to consider that.
Well, I am a very pull the sweater string thinker, and it will probably bring me back around to examples of things that have happened recently. You know
Right.
how I am. I'm not exactly linear in my thinking. Um, so I probably couldn't help it, even if I wanted to, if I bring it back to things that we discussed or have been discussed before.
Right, right. Yeah. Just a quick aside. It's Noel, I guess. I think he is Noel. Is that correct? Am I? I think
Yes.
he.
And no, this isn't about Dana.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting any talk about Dana, it's probably time to go.
Yeah, Noel, just the only thing I've asked from everyone, not just from you, is kindness. If you could please be kind. I'm not about saying anything negative about anybody. Um, we talk about behavior at times, but I don't put people down. At least if I do, somebody should tell me, and I'll stop. So please don't worry about that. Today's, we're probably not going to be able to send you a link. I appreciate your being here, but right now it's not about defending anyone, and I really don't want to get sidetracked. So, Noel, please don't worry about anything. Everything's going to be fine, okay? We're just
Yep.
going to talk about human nature.
Yes. This has.
And human nature requires trust. Sorry, go ahead, Janie.
I was just going to say this doesn't have anything to do with anyone in particular. This is a general conversation about human nature and psychology and all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We this channel isn't really into that much drama. Actually, there's two types of drama. There's good drama and bad drama. And Shakespeare was all about good drama. Jesus of Nazareth was all about good drama. And I hope I can try to stay in that lane. Bad drama is where we rip each other a new one, and I'm not all about that. So that's probably all I'm going to say, and hopefully not get any more bogged down in that than we have, and just move into more positive. This is about becoming aware of who we are as human beings, our human nature, what psychology can tell us, what spirituality, what many areas can tell us. And the more we know about ourselves, the healthier we'll be, and the better capacitated we'll be to enter into a conversation and have it go well and end up well.
I agree with that 100%. And hello, Dolly.
Oh, Dolly, hi. Sorry, I missed you. Good to see you. I'm so happy you're here. Go ahead, Janie. Sorry.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh. Well, I'm so glad you're here because I know you have a psychology background. I've studied some psychology. That's not my field. My field is theology and scripture. Um, and we share from what we know, and I'm certainly not going to pretend to be an expert in anything really, but I do have an area that I've studied, and I just want to share it. If it's of any benefit to people, that's wonderful. If it's
Well,
not, that's fine.
I think there's a lot of overlap in theology and psychology.
Oh yeah,
Um, you know, both are essentially based on theories about how humans should live or do live, or can make their life more meaningful. There's really a lot of overlap, and there are a lot of counselors or therapists who actually involve theology in their practice. I'm not
absolutely.
saying I'm not saying that's good or bad. I've seen it done both ways. I've seen it done well, and I've seen it done, not so well, where there's a lot of guilt put upon a person and shame and things like that. But yeah, there. So being interested in one doesn't surprise me that someone would be interested in the other as well.
Absolutely. I'm just typing a little note to Noel. Thank you for being so understanding. I appreciate your hearing me out. Just to piggyback on what you said, I think it was, which psychologist was it? I think Carl Jung, who said that of all the patients he saw in his entire practice over the course of many decades, that Carl Jung said at the root of most all of their issues was loneliness and spirituality, having to do with the human condition as we struggle for discovering who we are, self-acceptance of who we are, and being able to begin to love ourselves, and
Right.
how all of that blends together. Isn't that interesting?
It
Spirituality
is.
and loneliness, yeah.
Well, I think at the heart of all of us is that place where we wonder what it all means. What is it all for? You know, we can't just be here to do the dishes day after day after day, because then you eat and you dirty more dishes. And so is every day just about getting up and doing the dishes or getting up and going to work? There has to be more, right? And I think
Right.
as humans, that's what we struggle with. And I think a lot of those answers are found in both spirituality and psychology.
Yeah. It's and they kind of they're in a dance together, spirituality and psychology, and actually even science. Science and spirituality used to be contentious. If we look back, especially with the Vatican condemning Galileo and all of those historical markers, we're really finding that science, and that's where Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit priest, was also a scientist. He was one of the few that 5 or 6 people that discovered Peking man in China,
Hmm.
and that was a hugely important discovery in science. But
Yes,
to be looking at life from an overview where we don't have to pick and choose. It's not either or science or religion. I don't talk about religion much. I talk about spirituality. It's about both and. It's about
right.
contemporary scientific research and understanding. And the best now present insights of spirituality and science actually are in a dance together today. Whether it's quantum physics with what's known as, boy, I wasn't intending to talk about anything at all about this, but cosmology. And that's where a lot of theologians are trying to explain the origin of the universe, the origin of our human condition. How did all of that come about? And they're meeting in the middle, believe it or not. Even string theory and all of that, and pure energy and how it moves and dances, and that spirituality is speaking about. And we are today about the relationship of the human mind between where we start off, which is conventional, and where we end up, hopefully, which is reflective. We're on earth to grow, and growth requires participation, and participation requires, if it's authentic, that we get involved, that we think for ourselves.
Yes. And I think, that brings it back to the topic of the difference between conventional and, my mind just went blank. What is the other?
Reflective.
Reflective, yes. Conventional and reflective thinking is that as people move into more reflective thinking, they realize that more than one thing can be true at the same time. Science can be correct
Yes.
at the same time as, why is my mind going blank?
Well, this is
Spirituality.
a big, yeah.
As science and spirituality and psychology, which is a type of science. It's a soft science, but it's still science nonetheless. There's research and testing and all of those things. But they can all be true at the same time in some way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a very well put thought that you just had, Janie. I think, you can hold two things that seem to be in tension at the same time. Contemporary science, people generally think, well, science is kind of a agnostic enterprise. People go down the path of, let's look at this scientifically, not religiously. And that's really what they should do, for sure. But then a lot of times when one moves down any path, really, the final frontier maybe being the human mind, the more we look deeply into outer space or inner space, we oftentimes are brought back to that point of just how marvelous the whole endeavor of thinking is and exploring. And when we do that, our mind begins, I'll put it this way. I cannot imagine this great endeavor and journey we're on as humans to ever have an endpoint. And what I cling to, and which is scientific, the University of Virginia is talking a lot about this, and that's the area of study having to do with near-death experiences. Near-death experiences, they've studied thousands of them now. And the University of Virginia would be the hotbed place for that. When I was in school several decades ago, I took a course in theology called thanatology. Thana is the Latin word for death. It had to do with death and dying. And at that time, even 30 years ago, they were 40 years ago, they were barely talked about. There was only a couple of research papers done on thanatology or near-death experiences. Now, this is very much in the news. It's all over social media. And the exciting thing is that we are in a place where they're beginning to scientifically study what are the steps and stages that happen prior to death, and then those who have a near-death moment and who are able to come back and tell us about it, and how remarkable that area of study is, and how many commonalities they're finding. And they're looking at it from a scientific point of view, but spirituality weighs in on it as well. And for all of that, I think it's just marvelous that we're not trying to say either or, both and not to shut down any discipline, but to embrace all of them for what we can benefit from.
Right. And I think I've shared that I've had a near-death experience with you before.
Yes.
And so I would even go so far as to say that not only is it science and spirituality, but I can see the ways it affected my psychology, the way I approach things, my motivation, if you look into motivation theory and things like that. I think that the idea that more than one thing can be true or going on or happening at the same time has opened up the possibilities of what is possible in our world, that it's bringing out more and more non-conventional thinking.
Right. I mean, it's a scary proposition to think out of the box, which is reflective. It seems easier. We often hear on here, I've heard it before. Welcome to you, Irish gal. It's great to see you. Uh, People who, what's the term I've been hearing? Where you think with the groupthink. I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's like if you ever watch a bunch of birds on a telephone wire, if one flies off, they all fly off. And it's a
Right.
big group effort, right? And evolution's kind of built that into our flying friends and help them to survive because of the group staying together is safety in numbers and all of that. But with humans, it's also true. We probably wouldn't have survived if we hadn't thought together in unanimity in some ways to protect ourselves. Someone goes off on their own, they're not going to make it. I always talk about that tribe in Africa that is a true story that had a tradition of telling the people in the tribe that there's only life in the tribe. If you ever leave the tribe, you will die. And they were taught that since they were young, and that's conventional thinking, and they believed it. And I'll tell you how strong the power of belief is. Once in a while, someone's excommunicated from that tribe, and when that happens, they have to leave the tribe. Well, they were taught they wouldn't be able to live without being in the tribe. And you know what happened? Within a few days, they died.
Right.
You and I, we wouldn't die because that's not our thought process. But they believed so firmly in what they were told, it happened. And I think that's the power of thought, but it's also the power where we can become reflective and break free of thinking that is oppressive, holding us back, taking away potential vision of what would be healthy, to be able to see beyond conventionality and to break out of that box. That's very, very important, and it's healthy if we're able to do that.
Agree, 100%.
So, Janie, I'm going to put up here these. We're talking about Larry Kohlberg. He was at Harvard, psychologist, and he gave us 7 stages of moral developmental psychology and what humans go through. And this is an example of the 7 stages when we're infants up until age, I don't know, it could be age 3, 4, whatever it might be. We learn about from our parents usually to obey mommy and daddy. And the little child first begins to learn the word no when they're starting to move out of that stage. And stage 2, but they learn everything from their parents or their caregiver. And stage 2 has to do with Noelle. I really wish that you wouldn't do that. I'm going to go ahead and.
If I could just say, Noelle,
Please.
I hope that you are welcome to stay here and that you don't keep getting timed out. But I need to ask you to stop harassing me right now. It's not okay and it's not appropriate.
Yeah, and no one's talking about Dana. I've been up on panel with Dana. She and I have gotten along fine. We've talked about things about life, and it's been all good. And Janie has done the same. Janie and Dana have had marvelous conversations. Once in a while, we might have a disagreement, but we don't have to pick sides. In fact, in a way, Noelle, you're kind of a case study of conventional thinking. And with all due respect to you, Noelle, we do care about you, but we also have to maintain, and this is conventional, some type of order so that we can continue on with what we are here for. And that means to try to get along, number one, to listen to each other.
Right, and I don't want to see her be timed out. I want her to be able to sit and communicate with people and find out how they're doing and all that. I certainly don't want to be the catalyst for her being timed out and not able to communicate with people.
I'm so glad you said that.
It's okay with me if you just pretend I don't exist.
Noelle,
everyone else and enjoy yourself.
Exactly. And Noelle, I hope you heard Janie thinks of you in a positive way. She doesn't see you as an adversary. She doesn't see you as a bad person. You know, I don't know if you're able to do this. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But think about her as someone who is a friend you haven't met yet. Maybe she'll be your friend one day. Uh, don't destroy the possibility of that. Try to remain open. Try to remain kind and friendly. That's all we're saying. So anyway, I have up Kohlberg stages, and stage 2, moving from toddlerhood
And you
to
said that he is under the cognitive theory, right?
yeah, that would be one of probably existential as well. One of the areas that he would be probably viewed under.
Okay.
Yeah, and then stage
I'm
two.
not.
Go
I'm
ahead.
not super familiar with him, um, but I recall when we were learning that his insights were interesting.
Yeah, in the latter stages of his professional career, he moved more into morality, and that's what these 7 stages are. The stages of moral development, according to Kohlberg. And yeah, and then stage 2, he said, "You scratch my back, I scratch yours." Like when I was in grade school or even older, someone wants to borrow something. Well, what are you going to do for me? Borrow my bike? Okay, then I get to use your Nintendo, right?
Right.
Those sorts of things. Um, so then stage 3, and they go up. We start to, as the stages move on, we grow up. We try. This is going to come as a big shock, or maybe it won't. Most people, most adults, have not left stage 3.
Well, I was just going to say, how much do we see people still stuck in stage 2 at this point?
That's right. There are many people in stage 2,
I can,
but
I can
we
think of many
really,
people in our government who
yes.
are stuck in stage 2.
Exactly. And that's where, I wanted to play, and I did, that little short clip from James Tallarico, the Texas congressman, who's talking about, being very reflective to the point that we have to ask ourselves, do we want to be engaging in a war in Venezuela, and maybe we're going to intervene in Cuba next, or Colombia is being talked about? Are we going to take over Greenland and Mexico and Canada? Where are we going? And most people are saying, and Elon Musk is saying we need to inhabit Mars. How about we work on today and helping our own people? There are people who don't have health care now. There are people who don't have, who are food insufficient. There are people here who are homeless. There are people here who have lost their job or looking for job opportunities, but AI is really challenging us. How about we focus on that? Why go off into outer space when we haven't even brought peace on Earth? And so that's what reflective does. That's what James Tallarico was trying to say in his short video. That's brand new. It's just out an hour ago.
Right.
We really need to think about that. It's wonderful to have discovery and scientific development. We went to the moon in 1969. That's wonderful. But let's not do it at the expense, and that's what reflection brings, at the expense of our own people, not just Americans, but all kinds of human beings that are affected by decisions that ultimately we have to ask ourselves. The bottom line question is, are we living in a humane society with the direction we're going? That takes reflection, reflective thinking. And if we're not able to do that, we have to break out of that conventional prison that's preventing us from doing it. Sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
And well, I was just going to say, a lot of the examples you gave, like the people who are food insecure, the people whose insurance is being cut, they are in situations where they are incapable of scratching your back. So they often get overlooked. That's what I was saying about the thinking. Some of these people are still in stage 2 thinking.
Exactly.
Well, if I give you benefits to help with your insurance, what are you going to do for me? There's nothing you can do for me. You don't have the financial means or the power, the political power,
Right.
to repay. And that is to me anyway, that is a sad state of affairs when you're still stuck in that kind of thinking.
Janie, are you saying you're seeing that also in politics at the highest level of our own United States politics?
100%.
Yeah.
And there are those who go against it. You know, James Tallarico seems to be one of them. You know, he's saying that trading your child's life, sending them to war, is not worth the resources that it will gain by doing
Right.
that. There are other people who are fighting for, universal health care. And they're saying that you still deserve to be medically taken care of, regardless of whether or not you can do. So there are people fighting the fight, but the majority and the loudest voices right now seem to be stuck in stage 2.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we've all seen in the past year a great number of deals struck between the executive branch and the White House with Trump and nations around the world. Qatar sending him that jumbo jet.
Talk about a back scratch, right?
Yeah, that's a major example, and many others as well. Certainly, before the election, the major corporate class donated billions of dollars to support Trump's running for office. And then the payback of that, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's the pure level. Let me bring that up here again. That's
And
level
even in instances where they have done things where, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, was met. For instance, you and I have spoken a lot about the Haitians who were brought to Springfield.
Right.
Okay, so they scratched their back by offering them a better life, a safer life, a more secure life, and in return, the Haitians were coming to work in these factories to help build back the economy of this city.
Right.
But you see a lot of people who didn't see that as a fair trade for some reason, for many reasons, different reasons for different people. But in the end, Springfield is making a return.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of pushback even when they can meet the I scratch yours part of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think sometimes we begin there and then we have to think out of the box to something bigger that's going to be more fair and just for the rest of society. And even in a local community like Springfield, is everything that's happening and the decisions that are being made, how will it benefit the entire city and the surrounding area? So that, to me, what I have up on the screen, stage 4 and 5 moves us from conventional thinking, America right or wrong, to reflective. Before you were told, but now I tell you. You know who said that? A man from Nazareth said that. Before you were told by Moses, an eye for an eye. Let me take this off here. A tooth for a tooth. But now I tell you, love your enemies. Do good to those that hate you, bless those that curse you. Or he said about divorce, Jesus said, before you were told, Moses permitted divorce for a certain reason. But now I tell you, if you simply gaze at a woman with lust in your heart, you have committed adultery already. Now that's taking conventional thinking from the source, which would be Moses, to new heights in Jesus and his reflection. As Christians, we've moved from the First Testament to the Second Testament, from the Law of Moses to the Beatitudes of Jesus. And that's a big jump for us. And how do we hold the tension of the Old and the New Testaments together? Well, we have to be able to reflect upon what was and what has become, the ancient thoughts and the ones that have come forth today. And that means we stretch. That means we have to, some ways, let go of the old. In Jesus, in a summary, you could say, he filled all things full. He fulfilled what began with Moses, but not finished. And he's fulfilling it. He's giving it new and deeper meaning and insight. You can only embrace his thinking. Imagine the Jews in Jesus' day who embraced Moses as the Word of God coming through Moses. And Jesus steps into their environs And he says, but now I tell you. Imagine how they were being stretched at that moment. But wait a minute, Jesus. You're bucking Moses. Can you really go there? That's why they call him. He has blasphemed. Well, every great idea first begins as a minority of one. And so, it's a dangerous place to be when we hear, like, James Tallarico's a new type of thinker. People, if we don't forget history and remember Nazi Germany, fascism really was about a strong central figure, Adolf Hitler. He was a dictator, and he would say, "I'm your voice. I alone can fix it." I know we've heard those words more recently, but oftentimes what Hitler did was he fired up his youth, the Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, and he got them all fired up to go against the Jews. And what do we hear today? The Jews will not replace us. The out-of-touch media elites, all these people that the rage against the libs, right, the liberals, who are thinking out of the box, who aren't conventional enough, who don't have the outcome a certain small group of people want, and they encourage violence. We're seeing an awful lot of violence today. Violence has set foot on into the nation of Venezuela. Violence has happened in Syria. Violence has happened in Africa, where we've struck in many places. Violence should be the last resort, right? Brute strength is kind of what conventional people are looking at, hero warriors, instead of, and the economic billionaire class are just putting their hands together thinking, yeah, we can distract this whole thing and make it between blue and red, Republican and Democrat, when it's really between, as James Tallarico said, the wealthy and the middle class and the poor. That is where we have to conventionally move out of conventional thinking into reflective thinking and try to get that. Try to understand what that really means. This war being waged is not what you think it is. And that's what Tallarico was trying to tell us.
Right.
And
I want to say hi to Evelyn real quick. Right?
Oh, Evelyn's here. Oh, wonderful.
And then Angela brought up Jimmy Carter, and you brought up James Tallarico. And I think that's another place where we're seeing more of this melding of ideas together, and how sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like we were saying with science and psychology kind of overlapping and everything. We see politics and spirituality or religion and how they can meld and how they can work for the common good, or how they can work against vulnerable populations, whether that be LGBTQ or different religions, different races, different social groups, whatever. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to mute for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Very distracting. But I will be here, and you can finish going through these stages, and I'll be listening.
Okay, no problem. And people realize that I think there were things that you're. It's a command performance when the family needs you.
Yes,
so that's,
and the dogs and the kittens.
Exactly. So Janie will be back, and she's listening, so we can certainly address a lot of the very good, strong points she's mentioned. I think it's important to realize that what is you could juxtapose Nazi Germany with what's going on today. Because there's always a group vilified. In Nazi Germany, the Jews were vilified. In Nazi Germany, the educated population, because they feared people who could think for themselves, as well as the gypsies and the homosexuals and any other the disabled, any other group that they didn't feel was up to the standard of white nationalism in fascist Germany. And what are those groups today? Well, they're LGBTQ are being the ones who are being vilified, and women who are considered maybe the expression we often use is feminism. I consider men can be feminists. I consider myself one. I believe Jesus was as well. If you read the Gospel of Luke, that's the gospel of women, folks. If you want to, where did Jesus speak more about women than any of the three gospels, the other four altogether? Luke is your gospel to look, the gospel of women. So women, especially women who think for themselves, who are educated, LGBTQ community, as well as even segments of our religious communities. One of the concerns that I have and that we have in this country is called Christian nationalism. I don't believe it to be Christian at all. In fact, if you were to look on the National Council of Churches website, which is a major organization in Christianity in this country, they have condemned Christian nationalism, condemned it outright, and they will tell you why. So if you were to Google Christian nationalism, if you were to Google National Council of Churches, you will find what I've just told you, a condemnation of Christian nationalism for many reasons. Jesus didn't hold an AK-47 when he was going out in his public ministry. He was a man of peace. He told Peter to put his sword away. So the violent aspects of Christian nationalism do not fit. You don't wrap Jesus up in a flag with an automatic weapon. That's not Christian. It's not. It doesn't fit with the gospel. It's completely contrary to the message of our Lord. So all of these and many other things. So you can see a parallel of what's going on. It's almost right out of the handbook. And the billionaire class, in my opinion, they want the rest of us to fight amongst ourselves so that we don't look up and see where all the wealth and power has gone. We have, you can be certain of one thing, that Venezuela is the largest reservoirs of oil, and it will be ultimately the prize, as well as rare earth minerals in that, and Greenland as well. But the billionaire class don't want you to see that, because that's going to further enrich them and bring them power. They don't just want riches, they want predictability. They want to be able to say, we have this and we won't lose it. That's predictability. Oh, Jedi, welcome. Good to see you. Passing by. Evelyn says, let me go back here. I can't stand with the president so arrogant. MAGA wants America first. Does that mean America only? Yeah, if America is first, then what happened to the 18 million people who are left without health care, or the millions without food assistance, where food is truly scarce in their life? What happened to being concerned about homeless people? What about homeless veterans? What are we going to do about all the unemployed? What are we going to do about the cost of living and affordability? Shall I go on? What are we going to do about all of that? That's extremely important. I'm not interested in taking over Greenland. I'm not interested in making Canada the 51st state. That's not, Canadians are our friends. They don't want that. They've made that abundantly clear. Leave them the hell alone. I'm interested in making America first if it means helping Americans get back on their feet in a time where we're approaching a recession. That's what I would like to see. The cost of living is there's no denying it. You can have someone else tell you what's going on, or you can look at your own grocery receipt and judge for yourself. Look at the cost of a new truck. You're going to find it's $5,000 to $15,000 higher than it was a year ago. A new truck. How about that? Check. If you don't believe me, fact check me. Yeah, 1950s mindset. So there's a lot we have to simply, all I'm saying is, stop buying the bit and being conventional. Be reflective. Think for yourself. Get up off the couch and say, you know what? I don't know if I believe anybody. And that's the healthiest place you could start. A healthy place to start is saying, you know what? And I would say there's between a dozen, 2 dozen fact-checking sites that you make available to you, and I mentioned some of them in the video I played at the beginning. If you missed that, go back and see that. But it's very important to be able to, find out for yourself. Don't take anyone's word for anything. Don't take my word. Fact check everything, and then you will see. See for yourself. That's all I do. I fact check. And again, I'm not looking at left, right, Republican Democrat. I'm looking at north-south, right? Wealthy people and the influence exercised in Project 2025 and the strength of corporate involvement in this country. And believe me, that's what's moving the machinations behind everything that's happening right now. Okay, you have two questions. Let's see. Why do you hate rich? I don't hate rich. Successful people, I would dislike the fact that they injure the poor to an intolerable degree. Now, you better not tell me you are fine with that, because Jesus wasn't fine with that. When the rich young man went away sad, it was because Jesus challenged him, just like I'm doing. You know, you have so much. And if you have more than you need, why aren't you helping others who have less? It's all about equity and justice. What brings peace is justice. When a few people, like Bernie Sanders said, two or three people in this country have more wealth than 50% of the rest of America. It's 175 million people. When three people have more money and resources and accumulated wealth than 175 million people, that's injustice. That's injustice. What was your other question here? Let's see. So again, instead of asking me why I hate the rich, ask me if I hate the rich. Then you don't come in with a bias, you come in with a question. That's where you started off wrong, Miller. Don't come in with an attitude, I know what I'm talking about. Ask me what I believe, and then you'll get a good, honest answer, which I just gave you. Don't come in here with your belief that you know how I think. You don't know how I think. The rich are children of God as much as any one of us. But it's very clear in the gospel about the eye of the needle. Very clear. The second question was, why do you think, and working hard for something, going back to your first, there's no problem with that. But we have, is Amazon.com is a great example. We've got warehouses of people working at Amazon.com that can't afford to get a filling in their tooth because they don't have the income from a 40-hour or 50-hour work week because they're not paid a just salary or they don't have the compensation of health care. So they can't get a filling taken care of. When the corporate management goes off on 7-figure 6-week or 8-week vacations whenever they feel like it, that's a problem. Now, if you like that, that's a problem with you. No normal thinking person would see that as just and equitable. That is wrong. That's why unions were formed. That's why FDR spoke favorably of them, because America needed to have a voice among the working class. Why do you dislike working class people? I'm just asking you, do you? Well, there's nothing wrong with being successful, but not on the back of people who are hardworking. I happen to live in Seattle, where there's a mom and pop. It's a chain of restaurants, family-owned restaurants called Dick's Drive-In. You know what Dick's Drive-In does? They invest in their teenage workers and young adult workers. They help send them to college. They pay them, I believe they start out there at $17 an hour. That's not greed, Miller. That's justice. Everybody counts in this world. Everybody. And everybody has a right to be able to live in a society when they're treated justly. And wages are part of that justification. Number 2, why do you think it's about oil with Venezuela? Well, that's pretty obvious. If you don't see it, I can't help you. Because Trump has already talked about the oil and how we're going to run Venezuela. I'm not sure where you've been, but take a look at the news headlines. Listen to what Donald Trump is telling you. Donald Trump is stirring things up, not me. I'm simply reflecting what he has said. Look in the news. Trump has just talked about it. He's going to run Venezuela. That means oil. Okay, Angela says, welcome, Phil. I didn't see you there. Sorry. Look at the movie theaters, buy tickets, candy, drink, $100. Yeah, it's just out of whack. And people have to realize that. Back in the 40s and 50s, I wish I had the statistics on this. I did it one time. I can't pull them up right now. But The distance between management salary and assembly line worker salary was like 3 to 1, 4 to 1. Today it's hundreds to 1 or even more. That's a widening gap between rich and poor. My God, how can we not see that? There's something very wrong. When a society moves in that direction, then we're going to end up having a dictatorship. You tell me what things are starting to look like now. Thank you, Dolly. Let's see. Evelyn said, Angela, by using the infrastructure, okay, we pay for. Yeah. Gas is $1.90. No, Amarillo, yeah. Well, gas in Washington State's at $4.50 a gallon. We're not sitting on oil wells like you might be. I'll have to fact check that. I find that hard to believe. Amarillo, is there a little gas station war going on there? Super Serial, please remember the K factor. If I could draw a K, actually I can. Let me do it for you. The K factor in the stock market. Here we go. Let me just draw a K. I hope this. Y'all see the K here? See the arrow that's going up? That's the Magnificent Seven. The seven top stocks that are just booming. And the bottom K is the rest of us. The stock market, without the Magnificent Seven stocks, we would be going in a downhill direction. Keep in mind, Super, that prices for things have to be reflected across our nation. You could single out any specific area for price and say, oh, look how wonderful it is. We don't all live in Texas. We don't all live there. We live in many different places around the country. So you look at the average price of gas, right? You look at the average. And that's where you'll see, comparatively speaking, between what gas prices were 10 years ago and what they are today. Okay? Super Serial, give us a link to your what you're putting down here. Give us a link. That would help. And keep in mind that the cost of living and affordability has to do with every area across the board, including food, shelter, the price of rental or housing. It includes all of that. The entire cost of living is the cost of an American trying to make it in this United States of America. Yeah, Newsmax. That's a very extreme right-wing resource, Newsmax. Yeah, if that's where they're coming from, then be sure to fact check that. Okay, but look at things in the context of some people can't afford a car now, so the price of gas is not going to affect them. But we all need to eat, and we all need to pay rent. We all need to buy, like Dolly said, pharmaceutical. Where are we at with that? We haven't seen a drop. We've seen increases in it all across the board. Affordability has gone up. There's no question about that. So anyway, I think we have to look at just the basic things. Are we helping our people, or are we sending $400 billion to Argentina? And I'd like maybe if Super Serial wouldn't mind addressing that. What are your thoughts about sending $400 billion to Argentina? Is that making America great and putting Americans first? What's your thought on that? Any thoughts on that? Okay, I'll wait for your response. I would very much like to know what you think about sending $400 billion to Argentina. So that's the direction. You know, any of this here is good, healthy conversation as long as we're fact-checking. What's important is to make sure that our fact-checking is factual, right? If you go to partisan resources, I went to Fox News the other day, and people who represent the present administration are talking about, things are coming down, and that Trump's approval rating is up. Well, every other resource you look at, that's not true. So what I'm saying is it's important to have the facts correct from fact-checking sources that are nonpartisan. Nonpartisan. Extremely important. Very important. Well, you brought up, you're deflecting to Saudi Arabia, but that's fine as well. Should we be sending billions of dollars anywhere, or the many hundreds of millions of dollars to the Middle East, to Israel? I would say we have to take care of Americans first. I don't know how the rest of you feel about that statement. That would be my firm belief. We live here in this country. Are we taking care of, especially the most vulnerable among us, those who are unable to really, including a lot of people that we should be embarrassed to say are living in a homeless situation, and that would be our veterans. But not only our veterans. Every American deserves, we talk about ourselves being the richest country in the world. That's a bit of a joke. We're the richest country in the world? Really? Is that right? I'm not so sure about that. When it comes to the richest country in the world, maybe we want to ask ourselves, do we have, for example, what is our longevity? Well, there's many countries who have more longevity than Americans do. We've fallen behind in that. Infant mortality rate, we've fallen behind on that. As far as being the greatest country in the world, oh my goodness, we have fallen. Pebbles, welcome to you. Good to see you. I hope I haven't. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to see if I'm back now.
Oh, you are, and I don't know if you had a chance to catch up. We're just having I'm loving the conversation.
Well, I was going to say, when you said that you believe it should be Americans first, I agree with that. And it goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier. More than one thing can be true at a time. Also, more than one thing can be done at a time. People seem to act like it's either or. You're either going to help the Americans or you're going to help someone else. We can help more than one person at a time.
Exactly.
Hi,
Yeah.
Babs.
Yeah, Pebbles, good to see you. We have the ability to do so much good in this world. So much good. But we're seeing an awful lot of people fall through the cracks. I, for one, don't believe that millions of Americans should be without health care. I'm glad Emerson Electric is over $7 a share. But there's millions of people without health care and they're dying needlessly. They don't need to die. And they're going to die. That isn't right. We're seeing education become more of a problem. You can compare the quality of education in the United States with other, first world nations, and we're falling behind. Does that make us the greatest country on earth? I don't think it does. The stock market, as I say, that K shape I put up there, the Magnificent Seven, sure, they're doing great. And the oil companies, energy prices are skyrocketing. Super Serial, the problem is people are unable to pay their utility bill. Did you think of that? People who, if the energy companies are doing well, it means they're making exorbitant profits. How do they feel morally about people who no longer heat their home, and grandma, who's all by herself in her little apartment or house, is sitting there with blankets on her, and she can't afford to turn the heat on? Is that great then? Look at the profits, but look at the outcome. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said, welcome to my world. And hi, Laura. We've had a very mild winter so far, so we've not had to use much heat yet at all. And my electric bill still went up $125 for 1 month. I mean, it went up $125. It went up to $250. Normally, in the past few years, my electric this time in a mild winter is under $100. And this month it's $250 for no discernible reason other than the cost of it has gone up.
Well, and Janie, can I ask you, do you mind telling me what state you live in?
Texas.
Super Serial, what state do you live in? You don't have to answer that. I already know.
You already knew where I lived too.
Yes, I did.
I played along anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's to make a point. People who want to cherry pick. Let's use that word. Cherry pick. Oh, look, the stock market's so high. The Magnificent Seven are high, and that's mainly energy and AI and technology. Yeah, they're high. But the rest of us aren't doing so well. And the places in energy itself that provides heat for our homes, that's not so good. Janie just explained that. And that's from a place that pulls a lot of oil out of the ground to heat our homes. And look at the price of energy now. The same's true where I live. Same's true all across the country. You can cherry pick a certain thing and say, oh well, here's a gas station that's got prices way down. Look at the costs all across the country. In all fairness, you have to do that. Well, the cost of living under Biden compared with Trump today, the cost of living actually is higher today than it was under Biden. But you'd have to do some, I would say, nonpartisan fact checking, and you will find that. That is true. If you listen to Fox News, you're going to get that bias against anybody other than Trump. They're going to be biased against Biden, Obama, all the way back. And that's the problem, see, because we're talking today, Janie and I, about conventional thinking and reflective thinking. Conventional thinking is frozen up, locked up. He's my guy. I like this guy who's president. I'm going to go against everybody who disagrees with my guy. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to open to. My mind is closed. I'm not going to hear it. I'll throw up all the arguments I can think of to support my guy. That's conventional thinking, super. It's conventional thinking. Reflective thinking, on the other hand, is to say, I'm going to open my mind and listen to all sides of the issue. We're not politicians here. Janie is not. I'm not a politician either. We're simple Americans trying to make a go of it in the year 2026 with the affordability crisis all of us are dealing with. It's a big problem today, and it's getting worse. Rent went up for you, Dolly? Yeah, and you're in a position. I think most people go, "Oh my God, I'd love to have." I remember when I moved out west from Nebraska. Sorry, I in 1960, 68, I rented an apartment. I was a 17, 18-year-old kid for $50 a month, right across the street from a school I was attending, a technical school. $50 a month. And I made it. I was able to make it. I worked and went to school, and I paid my $50 a month rent. Today, that's unheard of. You can get a room in someone's home, and you'd be lucky to get it for less than $500. Things have gone completely bonkers, and unfortunately, the cost of living, the salaries. Look at minimum wage, for example, simply not kept up. And why is corporations like basically any of the fast food places, McDonald's would be a good place to start, why are they so against raising the minimum wage? I mean, these poor young people, I really feel bad for them. They're couch surfing, 4 or 5 of them living together in one apartment. You know, I mean, it's tougher today. Young people don't even think there's no way I can buy a house today. On a typical salary in this country, they can't afford to buy a house. I mean, imagine that. That's not making America great. That's making America unaffordable. It's making the rich people great. It's making their income great. I mean, this isn't a battle between you and me. This is a battle between the super rich, the 3%, and the rest of us. You know, you got to break out of your conventional thinking and start being reflective about this. They don't care about you. They're not your friends. I assure you, they're not. They're not.
I think
I'm
that's
sorry.
where a lot of the problems lie as well, is that they keep us in this constant battle with people who aren't the enemy.
Right.
I'm for as can be. I am not your enemy. I'm not taking anything from your pocket. I promise you that. Um, so I am not the enemy. I'm not the one who needs more trouble getting along so that you can do better. You need the person who's making billions of dollars and they don't have to pay taxes on it, because they get all these loopholes and things. That's your enemy. That's the one who's keeping you struggling, not me.
Yeah, and I just want to add to, thank you for saying that, Janie. Super is saying raising minimum wages would result in tens of thousands of layoffs. That would be only if the company itself is basically cattywampus in terms of salaries. Small businesses are going out of, I typed in there, small businesses are going out because of the tariffs that Trump laid on these other nations that, of course, are being paid by importing businesses, which are American businesses that import automobiles, import everything you can think of. You know, that's why prices are so high, and they can't afford, and the profit margin being so little, they're filing for bankruptcy because of the tariffs. Doesn't have to do with the minimum wage at all. Not at all. Yeah, we have $17, I forget exactly, but it's over $17 an hour minimum wage, and we aren't seeing businesses going bankrupt at all. It's not happening here. It all depends upon what your profit margin may end up being or what you need it to be. But right now, the danger isn't paying your workers a minimum wage, a little bit higher wage. It's having to pay the exorbitant amount of costs added on because of the tariffs. That's what's really crushing. It's crushed farmers, it's crushing importers in every area you can imagine. That Trump did that. That's hurting Americans and American businesses. Black Eagle, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hello, Black Eagle.
Angela says, yeah, the tariffs are destroying small businesses. Yeah, factories shutting down. It's really sad. And we're not really seeing business startups as they suggested we would. They're just not. That's sad. Yeah, now the farmers, we were selling lots of soybeans to many places, especially China. China is buying them elsewhere. I don't blame China. You know why? Because China can buy them for what they were buying them for last year. Why would they pay exorbitant amounts for the same thing they got last year from the same farmers in America? But the tariffs have added on so much more. Do you blame them? I don't blame any country that says, you know what, these tariffs are killing us. If we can buy, soybeans from Argentina, we'll buy them from Argentina. We'll buy them elsewhere. That's what it's done to our American farmers. And it's not just soybeans. It's all kinds of crops.
Super Cereal, I do have one, and this is just, I guess it's a question, but it's also more just a thought. Maybe rhetorical in some way, I should say the question is. But cause and correlation. Is the minimum wage going up in California actually the reason that there were thousands of layoffs? Or could there be other things at play? Like that it's easier for employers to not pay anyone by using AI or robotics than it is to continue paying people more money because the minimum wage went up. I think there are a lot of questions that don't get asked, and the answers may be, negative. Hey, no, that's not the case. But I think cause and correlation get confused a whole lot, and they use convenient excuses for why it happened. They don't want to out and out say, listen, if we make everything robotic or AI, there's no one to pay at the end of the day. AI doesn't go home and wonder how it's going to feed its family or pay the rent, because AI doesn't live anywhere or have a family to feed. But it's very convenient to say, we just can't do this because the minimum wage has gone up.
Welcome, Jonathan. I'm going to piggyback on what Janie just said. I did a Chat GPT search for what Super Serial was saying. Rigorous academic. Here's what they're saying about what your point was. I put in minimum wages are going up in California is 100% responsible for thousands of layoffs. And what Chat GPT said was, and I'll just read it to you. Rigorous academic studies from UC Berkeley, Harvard Kennedy School researchers as well found in fast food wages went up substantially without a measurable reduction in staffing, hours, or benefits. Did you hear that? Without a measurable reduction, meaning layoffs. The studies noted fast food employment continued to grow or stayed stable after the increase in wages, contrary to predictions by layoff critics. So there you go. There you go. Everything depends upon Super Serial, who your sources are. That's why I said to Ash one day, I said, Ash, I would love to know who your sources are. And unfortunately, well, Super Serial, UC Berkeley is an A-rated institution. Why don't you tell me where you got your information? These are people who do research. You can lay that alongside any, influencer who has an opinion, who's supporting the administration, and they'll come up with exactly the opposite. But it's not exactly scientific. Come on,
One
get with
person I
it.
listen to, and I don't know how other people feel about him. I feel like he gives really good information, and he actually is a professor at UC Berkeley, Robert Reich. He's very knowledgeable about
Robert Reich
finances.
is, yes.
And I see a lot of things that are going to happen. People have been so against, like universal basic income. There's going to come a point where that is going to have to be taken seriously, because, as I said, AI and robots don't have families to take care of. They don't need medical insurance. They don't need time off. They don't, all the things that come with being human and being a worker for someone that get, that you earn a living through and get paid for, get canceled out through AI and robotics. And as those take over more and more jobs, less and less humans are going to be in the workforce. Hey, so companies are still going to be making more money than ever and not even have to pay anyone. What happens then when the population has gotten to where they aren't making an income, can't afford to buy products, the products that are being made by AI or services by AI or whatever, what are we going to do?
Well, I think that's what it comes down to. In a sense, the super wealthy and the mega corporations, they're ultimately going to. Black Eagle, I don't know what you did. Why you're saying you're sorry? I'd have to go back and look. I'm sure you're fine. But ultimately, we have to live in a just society, and that means equitability. That means fairness. That means wages that are, So, when I was a young person, my dad, there were four of us. I was the youngest of four. Later, he remarried, and then there were eight of us. I was the second youngest of eight. He paid for the whole family from one job, and he had a new car every few years, and we had our own home, and we were in private school. Now that's very different than today. That's unthinkable today. I feel so bad for young people who can't even pay off student loans that were so high. I paid off my student loans because they weren't that high. Everything has just climbed exponentially. The cost of living, the cost of education, the cost of everything across the board, of housing and food, it's just way out of hand. Way out of hand. And that to me is a question of morality. If you look at the distance between rich and poor, it's just staring us right in the face. We have more, I forget how many it was. We have several thousand millionaires in the United States today. Several thousand millionaires. And that number has grown. If you look back 20 years, you look back 20 years before that, basically, let's see, that's all boys. Yes, Stella, did you have sisters? Oh no, I had three sisters. There were 5 boys, 3 sisters, in a blended family. But I'm just saying, in a nutshell, the distance, the cost of living is so bad now. Young people, I don't blame them for being depressed. They don't ever believe they'll get out of this. They don't believe they'll ever have the opportunity to own their own home. And that there's something wrong in America when we don't have realistic home ownership. That is tragic. And we don't today. We simply don't. We did back in the 50s. When I was a kid growing up in the 50s, we did have affordability. That's changed because the distance between rich and poor and the just exorbitant amount of greed that's going on in corporate America. And I think the sadness of super serial and people like yourself who are fighting for corporations who don't care about you, who couldn't care whether you live or die, they wouldn't care how well you're doing, and they don't care about the rest of it. They care about the bottom line, which they care about green, the color green. They don't care about you or me. And any of the type of thinking that they do is simply ridiculous. It's not proven at all by just even the 2 times that Trump's been in office in his term. Both terms began with a tremendous tax break for the wealthy, and these corporations are benefiting. The most recent one, right? What they call the Great Big Beautiful Bill was great, big, and beautiful for the wealthy, and now we had to pay for it. And guess who paid for it? It's on the backs of the middle and the poorer class. I mean, I don't know how you can't see that. Evelyn says, Magda thinks the women don't want to have children because of a lack of Christian faith. Yeah, they can't afford it. When it comes to abortion, the number one reason people have abortions is because of finances. If you want to stop abortions, then fight for a just, equitable wage. Fight for supporting unions. Fight for supporting the middle class. If you want to get rid of abortions, then fight that we'll have a world in which people can afford to bring children into it.
And to care for them once they're here.
And once they're here, that's right. Evelyn says we need to return to Christian faith, and that will solve the birth decline. Ha ha ha! Yeah,
I would say that I don't know the answers to the problems that are going on in California. But the thing is that I see California trying. They're
absolutely
trying something. Will it be successful? Maybe not. But we don't throw out the whole idea of having an equitable society just because one way didn't work. So,
right.
You keep tweaking it or whatever. We know that just giving all our money to the rich and waiting for it to trickle down to us doesn't work. We know that
right.
already. We've tried that. So we're trying new things. And if those new things are based on, like I said, making society more equitable for everyone, then I don't feel like that's an emotional decision. That is a moral decision, a righteous decision, and maybe we don't have it right yet, but we keep working on it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's, we have to look at the whole broad picture of what's happening right now, politically, socially, in many ways, including the whole country and not just cherry picking a certain part of the country. Super Serial, you can talk about the cost of living in California. You might as well come up here to Washington State. It's pretty high here as well. But we have $17 an hour cost of living. Minimum wage. $17 plus an hour, minimum wage. If you were to go to Alabama, you wouldn't find that. I think Georgia, I'm trying to remember, the cost of living is, $7, $8 an hour. You have to factor in all those things. You can't simply cherry pick and say, well, U-Hauls are more expensive in California. Their salaries are higher in California too. All of that's taken into account. But it's ultimately the cost of living regardless of what salaries are and the price of commodities. Is it are you better off living in one particular part of the country or another? I think you would find that in red states, and I hate to say this, but in the Bible Belt, throughout the Southeast, the cost of living and people are really struggling are Trump voters. They're the ones who are going to be hit first with the inability to pay these exorbitant amounts for health care, doubling and tripling. They're going to be hit first. Their local hospitals are going to be closed. Those are the people who are really struggling to buy food, to buy medicine, pharmaceuticals. And you can run out to California and say, hey, what does it cost to rent a U-Haul? That has nothing to do with reality when it comes to look at the entire country and how people are really doing. Cherry picking a particular item is silly. You need to look at people, their families. Are they making it, right? So you say there, take a simple economics class. I've taken plenty of them. You can't grasp my point. No, what's wrong with your point is that you're not making a point that embraces the totality of the conditions Americans are living under. If you were to do that, you'd simply say, oh my God, things are getting worse for most people. All you've done, Super Zero, since you've gotten here is cherry picked. You simply cherry picked the cost of a U-Haul trailer. And you were wrong about what happened when the minimum wage is raised in California. You were wrong about that. I proved that. You're not really being fair about this. And you really need to ask yourself the most important question I'm going to say to you. Ask yourself why you're defending corporate America. Why you're defending corporate America instead of average Americans. That's the question I would ask you. Cass, welcome to you. Good to see you. Good to see you. And it's bigger than just the cost of living. That's hugely important. If you ask Americans today, I don't think there's any doubt about this. There's no discussion or debate. People would say it's how Americans are doing with their ability to pay their bills. That's what Americans would be saying, and they're not happy. If you look at all of the statistics, even from Fox News, the presidential, what do they call it, his approval ratings. Fox News' recent approval ratings for the president are way underwater. It's like in the 30 percentile. Americans are telling, and Fox News has no other choice but to say it, and the best reports they can give is that Trump is so far underwater, having to do with everything, including the economy, including immigration, including war. He promised no more wars, and look what he's doing. He's moving us in the direction of all kinds of conflicts, and now we're going to control Venezuela. Oh my goodness! From the guy who said, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying the president promised us no more wars. I'm not going to lead you into war. Well, think again. Sorry, go ahead, Jane.
I was just going to say that I don't think it's feeling sorry for people, and I don't think it's emotional when you want equity in your society, especially when the founding documents of the government or of the country started with we the people, not we the corporations, or we the wealthy people, or we the stock market buying individuals. It's we the people. And so when you have an entire country that was built based on the idea that the people, even the smallest, poorest, most insignificant people were equal to everyone else and would be treated as such by the government, I don't think that's emotional. Now, if that was not the case, or if that were to change, where they made new documents up that said we the government or we the corporations are going to rule everything and do that, and that all went through, I think people would learn to live with that and learn to accept it. But I still accept that we the people are the most important part of this country, whether that's through financial means, social programs, whatever. When our people are not doing well, which a lot of our people are not doing well, we can see that through homelessness, the way veterans aren't getting the care they need, the way the elderly or disabled aren't getting the care they need. When and they are the people, but corporations and CEOs are taking and taking and hoarding and becoming more powerful in the decisions that are made for we the little people. I don't know how I was going to end that sentence. I just lost my.
You're
But
doing great.
I think that when you build a country on the belief that no one person is any better than another in the eyes of the government, so long as they follow the laws of the land and all of that, I don't think that's emotional. I think that was a promise made to us by our government, and we're holding them to it.
Right. Janie, and I don't have a bad feeling about emotions. That's what part of what makes us human beings. If we lack emotions, like the president seems to lack emotions, that makes us a kind of a unfeeling, uncaring dictator. And that scares me. That really
I got
scares me.
sidetracked by kittens running past me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, feelings are a barometer for what's happening in our world and all around us. Our
Agreed.
feelings, yeah, they're part of our humanity. Don't follow people who have no feelings, because then you're falling right in line with the executive branch of this government, who doesn't seem to have any feelings for anybody but the mega wealthy. Yeah, feelings are extremely
But
important.
I would say that again, two things can be true at once. Yes, our message may be steeped in the emotions or the empathy that we feel for other people, but that
Right.
doesn't make it non-logical.
Hi, Jason. Welcome. Yeah, I don't think that having feeling things deeply, being an empath, for example, when I looked at the stages of that Lawrence Kohlberg was talking about in the reflective stage, that's ultimately one of the partners you have, because you do care about other people. If you don't care about them, you're back in stage 1 and 2, where you only care about yourself. And that, unfortunately, is what I'm hearing from you, Super. You're very concerned about yourself, your beliefs, and feelings. You can throw those out the window. I'm sorry, feelings are not disposable. You're not going to flush them. Feelings are part of the human condition, and they tell us a lot about how we're doing. Sorry. Blinky, welcome to you. Good to see you.
I don't.
Blinky is a long-term friend from Australia. She's a great lady. Please make her feel welcome. So, Super, I'm not your... Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, Super Serial, you've made some good points as far as how you view things and all of that. And, you know, we've been having this back and forth. But please don't do what you just did. It got held for review or hidden. Because 50% of us in this country have need for those type of products. And to use it as a way to put someone down just really does not strengthen your argument at all.
I didn't see
If
what it
anything,
was.
if anything, it causes people who are in that 50% to start to shut down anything you say and not take it seriously.
I wish I didn't. Do you remember what it was? I didn't see it.
It was a comment about Tampon Tim.
Yeah, well,
Holmes.
honestly, Super, that's beneath you. It's beneath any adult. If you have to resort to insulting people, then your argument has fallen apart. Absolutely.
And I would say as well, any man who is concerned that women have their needs met when out in public, even if that is through their boyfriend or their husband who can get that for them, good for those men. Good for those men for looking out for their sisters and their wives and their girlfriends and their mothers in their times of biological need.
It was this what happened in Minnesota where they talked about putting
Tampa machines in boys' locker rooms.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Fact check that, Super Serial, and you'll find out you're wrong on that again as well, among many
And
other things. I fact checked that some
behind
year
that
ago.
idea, the
Yeah,
thinking behind that idea was because sometimes when sports teams travel to different schools, the visiting team would use the boys' locker room, and it may be a
right,
female.
right. Yeah, I fact checked that as well, and that proved to be false. Um,
Yes.
there was support for trying to, but none of that actually. I believe, if I remember right, none of that even was done. Those
No,
machines
it
were
wasn't,
not.
but it was an idea that had been floated
Ideas are
for
great.
that.
Yeah, I don't mind anybody with any ideas, including yours, Super Serial. But to throw something out there that turns out it was bogus, it was done by. I mean, I would have to ask you if your sources are simply people who are on the payroll as influence, peddling influence on the internet. That's sad. Try to go to mainstream. My parents, I'm 76, but I grew up with mainstream news, and my parents did, and their parents did, and so on. We had to trust somebody. And I think that, I'm not saying that trust is eroded to some degree, because it probably has. But believe me, I'm not going to trust a Johnny-come-lately blogging influencer ahead of mainstream news. I'm an NBC News person. I don't like CBS much. They've caved in. But I think mainstream news is far superior to any influential blogger that you can name, because what they're doing is giving you their view. The facts are objective. Someone's view is subjective. Know the difference.
My sources are PBS and NPR because I like to be very bored when I get my news. I don't like any excitement at all.
Well, tell us who your sources are then, Super, because UC Berkeley, as I mentioned before, is an A-rated institution. It's one of the top universities in the world. If you just want to caricaturize, well, that's San Francisco, therefore San Francisco is radical left, therefore it's evil, that's pretty sad. If that's the way your mind works, I can only feel sorry for you. Your mind is not open at all. UC Berkeley has graduated some great minds. I mean, even in the church we send people. Berkeley is, I believe it's 7 different areas of study at UC Berkeley. It's a major successful educational institution in this country, and you're making a joke of it. That's sad.
Yeah. And I
That's,
really do trust Robert Reich's views on economics.
hey, let me put his name in here. Is it spelled Reisch?
No, just REICH. And he is a
Reich.
professor there. I think he may be retiring, but
I listen to him all the time on here. He's one of the people I sub to.
yeah, he does a show on here weekly called The Coffee Clutch or something like that. Um, but he's very short, yes, but he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, I just think that we have to, fact check everything. Fact check Robert Reich. Fact check me. Fact check Janie. Fact check everybody. Do that. But make sure your fact checking is in an objective, nonpartisan place. And there's plenty of those. The most famous one we've all heard of is Snopes, right? You've all heard of Snopes. Well, if you go back to the beginning of this live stream, there's a little segment of it where I did there's a whole bunch of them mentioned, probably half a dozen to a dozen. But start there. Open your mind. Look at all sides of issues. I still watch Fox News, even though I find it torturous. I'm willing to listen. I want to know what all sides are saying. If you
Yes,
can't do that, then you're trapped. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, yes, I watch it too because if I'm going to hold these views, I want to make sure that there's not something more informed. And so even listening to things that you don't necessarily agree with helps you to update your own ideas and thoughts and, you know, challenge your beliefs. Because if you don't challenge what you believe to be true or let in any new information, you're unchangeable. That's the end of it. You should always be challenging what you think you know. And so I am absolutely willing to listen to different views than my own.
I think that we have to avoid bias. I went ahead and put into Chat GPT what Super Serial had put. NPR is the most, how do you put it here, the most slanted network there is by far. So let me tell you what Chat GPT is saying. Let's see. Most media bias studies place NPR. That's what you said, right? NPR. Left of center, but less partisan than cable news. And the studies talk about measured topical balance, not framing someone's moral presupposition. That's where op-eds come in. NPR, let's see here, how it compares to other networks. Fox News, MSNBC are the most openly partisan. CNN fluctuates. NPR is less sensational, but more consistently ideologically framing.
And see, that's what I like about it. I don't want to watch news that is just basically based on op-eds. I didn't go watch the news to know, Megyn Kelly's opinion on what's happening. I watch the news to find out what is happening, period. I don't want what you think it means, what you think is going to happen. I just want to know the news. Who, what, where, when, why, how. And I don't like the sensationalism of other news broadcasts. So even if they are left of center or whatever, I'm okay with that. It's not sensationalized, and it's not just full of op-eds and everyone gasping and, clutching their pearls.
Well, that's where, we have to, if we're listening to something that we don't like, ask yourself why you don't like it. If it doesn't agree with your point of view, or you're waiting to hear your point of view confirmed, then I'll listen. So Super says, listen to NPR and tell me when you hear a straight male with conservative values, keep in mind. Well, if I'm sure, now I'm straight, and I hold mixed values, both left and right, I would think that my values, and I've listened to NPR for years, men are crying in their daily. Jesus, it's unbelievable where you're coming from. What I did was I just now checked what news services are least biased. And let me show you what came up. High quality, low bias news. Then there's no news source without some bias. We're human beings after all. The BBC News, right? BBC, British Broadcasting, they have strong editorial standards. It's obviously going to have UK focus, but it covers world events. And the United States coverage is generally neutral. Bias is very subtle. It's not partisan. Another one, and they mention NPR, what we just talked about. Highly factual, accuracy, mid-center left framing on some social issues. And they make a point of distinguishing news desk from commentary. Don't forget, folks, if you're listening to someone give a commentary, that's someone's opinion, right? That's someone's opinion.
I listen to a lot of the commentary shows for that reason. I listen to the news and then I shut it off. Some people get into the commentary shows. I don't, because I feel like they're trying to tell me what I need to think. And I don't like to be told what I need to think. I like to think and figure out what I think on my own.
You know, the great personalities that we hear on news today, it's almost like they have developed a following. They are the news. Their views become the news. Their take on the news. When I was studying for the priesthood, which I did not become ordained, to make sure everybody understands that, they told us
I'm not licensed.
if you preach from the pulpit, don't ever make it about you. Because it's not about you. It's about the gospel. And I've never forgotten that. It's not about us. And when you think back to some of the old Chet Huntley, David Brinkley, Walter Cronkite, and some of the ABC News people as well, these people were just reporting the news. We have to understand the difference between when we hear the news reported and when we hear an op-ed. That's an opinion. An op is an opinion. OP, op, opinion, INION. It's an editorial. It's about what some guy thinks or woman thinks. It's not about what the facts necessarily are. It's their view of the facts. And I think an awful lot of people are being mind manipulated, super, when they throw out opinions that maybe are coming from just basically social media influencers. I would love to know who you listen to. What are the people that you listen to? I would love to know. I listen to Straight Arrow News. That's one of the. I listen to Ground News. Let me type those in here. Straight Arrow News. And Ground News. Now, if you were to Google those two news sources, you would find that they are informational by choice. They're not going to be. They're going to be objectional. What I'm saying, they're going to be objective, and they're not going to be trying to bias you by op-eds. In fact, what they do is on each of those sources, and that's what I listen to. They give you what is being said on the left, what is being said on the right, and what is being said dead center. Now that is about as objective as you can be. That's not mind manipulation. When you come at it, all the things you've said here today, Super, and I've debunked a lot of them, come from your right-wing viewpoint, probably op-eds, and you still won't tell me where you're getting your news from. I just told you where I get mine from. I am trying to stay neutral and objective, and then when I hear all sources, then I make my own mind up. That's what people do. The whole topic today was about, reflective thinking. And you become truly reflective when you heard from all sides. If someone said to me, Stellar, I hate that son of a bitch. Yeah, I said the word son of a bitch. I hate him. I don't like what he says, what he stands for. I don't like anything about the guy. I would say to them, people who think I'm an SOB, I would say to them, where are you getting your information from? Have you ever gone to the source? Have you actually gone to Stellar? Or have you even gone to somebody who likes him? That's what we don't do with the news. We don't give people a chance. We don't give various points of view a chance. We're locked into our conventional thinking. And it overrules even giving any objectivity to an alternate point of view. And that's where you're falling apart, Super. I'm sorry. Well, you mentioned about a number of things we already debunked. I went here on ChatGPT, they bring up sources. They're not giving you opinions. They're giving sources. And you were wrong about them. Evelyn, let's see. Well, you are. You're picking. You picked. U-Haul trailers in California. For God's sakes. And I'm imploring you, pleading with you to try to look at the entire country. Anybody can go to any part of the country and say, oh, this is cheaper if you buy it here. We don't live there. I don't live in California. If I have to rent a U-Haul, I have to buy it up here where I live. Or if you live in Florida, you have to buy it down there, or Texas, wherever. That's called cherry picking. It's classic cherry picking. You go to one thing in one part of the country, and that's what you've done. You did that with gas prices as well. You're wrong to do that. That's cherry picking. Stop it. You looked at minimum wage. I debunked that as well. We talked about minimum wages. You were completely wrong about that in the state of California. I proved that. You know, if being right to you, Super Serial, is more important than being honest, you know, or even being loving for that matter. You know, I'm afraid it might be. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but you've failed that. Let's see. I'm sorry. I apologize. I missed other people's comments on a lot of things here.
I would ask Super Serial if you focus on the economic indicators and not on feeling sorry for the people, and that renting trailers to leave California is a huge economic indicator. I would ask, what do you do with that information? Do you just say, I know this information, and so that's all there is to it? Or do you try and solve the problems going on with we, the people, by understanding what you consider to be the economic indicators? Because if it's just, here's the facts, and because so many people are leaving California, clearly California is going to be a dead state or whatever, what do we do about that? Or do you not think about what to do about that? And that's an honest question. I'm not being sarcastic or, you know, trying to be confrontational. You can know everything in the world, and if you don't do anything with it, then what's the point? Do you have an aversion to feeling bad for other people and trying to make their life better in some way?
I'm going to bring up a couple of factual things that I think would be important to look at. Here, this is kind of, I got to remove you here, Janie, sorry.
Right.
This is part of the program I use. Let's see. Okay, the average American household now owes $10,000 in credit card debt, almost $59,000 in student loan debt, nearly $242,000 in mortgage debt, and $22,600 in auto loans. It's the average American household, according to surveys by Policy Genius. Let me bring up another one. If you don't think we have issues, we have plenty of issues. This has more to do with the broad range of consumer. Says consumer categories with the most inflation since the pandemic. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see. In fact, I don't know if you guys, can you see this? Are you able to? I'll try to make it a little.
But I'm on a desktop. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
If else could see it, but I can see it fine.
All right, let me try to make it a little bit bigger. All right. So at the top, the consumer price index. Doggone it, that since November. Motor vehicle insurance has gone up 56%. Utility gas service, that would be, I'm sure, like natural gas, 48.8%. Motor vehicle maintenance repair, the same, 48.8%. Coffee, the price of coffee, you go to your store and buy that, it's gone up 46%. Electricity that Janie was mentioning recently, where she lives in Texas, 40.4%. Meats, poultry, fish, 38%, more than 38%. Food, buying it away from home, restaurants, almost 35%. Used cars and trucks, 33.6%. Let me go down here to a few more of these. Rent of primary residence gone up almost 31%. Bread, 29.4. Household supplies, 26.2, I think that is. All items together, average, it's gone up more than 26%. And it goes on, talks about alcoholic beverages, personal items, and so on and so forth. And this is from...
Go ahead. It's from...
Oops. Oh, sorry. This is from Gabriel Cortez. Oh, CNBC source, United States Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Yeah, on
And
December
this was,
16th.
yeah, December 16th, 2025. So this is, well, it's less than a month ago.
Right.
And from the U.S. Bureau of Labor, all of these increases. I mean, that's
And
not
there's
the,
there that I've personally noted. Like today, I was telling you the electricity, but last month I was talking about the price of my coffee has gone up $4 for the exact same size and label of coffee. So I see that. I see this in real life. I know this is not untrue.
right, this isn't
So I can be
debatable.
told all day by a politician that
Right.
prices are coming down. But when I
That's
go to
right.
the store or when I pay my electric bill, I know that is a lie.
Well, yeah, this is our own U.S. Bureau of Statistics. I mean, if we're going to call them liars, then look, we have nowhere to turn for information. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is just out less than a couple of weeks ago. This is how bad it is. So super, just rattle on all you want, but this is what's called fact checking. This is what's called looking at the source. Maybe try to get beyond your pride and look to, just maybe you got it wrong, because clearly you do. If you don't have to agree with me. Go ahead and fight with the U.S. Bureau of Statistics, Labor. Go ahead and fight with them. These aren't my statistics. That's where they come from.
One of the sadder parts of something like this too that I consider is that so someone would say, well, your coffee went up $4, for the price of it. Don't drink coffee anymore. Okay, so you know I'm too poor now to deserve to have coffee. I don't need it. That's true. It's not a necessity for life, but we all have a life that we grow accustomed to, regardless of whether we're deserving of it or not, right?
Right.
And there are people who get upset when they see someone who's getting welfare or SNAP benefits for food assistance for their children when they see them on a smartphone. You know, it's it's sad to me that we find those who are struggling less deserving of a certain lifestyle. Now, I would agree. Don't be go getting your nails and your hair done and all those things if you can't feed your children. That's very frivolous. But we do become accustomed to certain things. And to think that now that, if I'm going to complain that coffee has gone up $4, at some point I probably will have to make the decision, will I continue buying coffee or not? And unfortunately, I probably will not, or I'll find a way to work it out. But instead of finding problem with the price and prices going up, they find problems with the person who is struggling to meet those prices. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does to me.
Instead of their first thing being, instead of the first reaction being, I can't believe your coffee went up $4. What can we do about that? Why is this happening? Let's find out why it's happening and what we can do about it. The first knee-jerk reaction is, well, if you're poor, you don't deserve coffee.
I know. It's amazing that any human being would want to buck the basic the U.S. public, where Americans are struggling. Why would anybody want to be on the other side of those issues, siding with the 3% super rich? And by the way, super, I put in. You could also do the same thing. Do your search with Perplexity. You could do it with Google AI. You could even do it with Grok if you want. But we know that Elon Musk likes to change his answers. That's why that one may not be quite as unbiased as these other three that I use.
But I do think that's one of the saddest parts of when this happens. Instead of trying to find out why my coffee is now $4 more than it was 4 months ago or 5 months ago, and see what can be done about it, it's just, well, you're poor, you don't deserve coffee anymore. If you can't afford it, quit buying it. Like I said, I am not the enemy, but I'm the one that they want you to think is the enemy, right? The one who can't afford things.
Right. Well, and what was the one example was Trump said, "Don't buy your children $17, just buy them one."
Right.
I don't think it's a doll issue.
I don't think it's a doll or pencil issue.
No, not that's so ridiculous. It has to do with the basic necessities that Americans are struggling to get. Many of them are. I just think that we have to. This is where feelings are important. If you lack feelings, then you won't care. I think that if we ever reach that point where we don't care about what happens to them, then all is lost. That would be truly a rejection of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That would be abhorrent when we have no feeling for other people who are struggling. Maybe we're not, but millions of others are.
Right.
And you know what the irony of all that is to me? If you think or believe that there is another life after this one, which I do, the one who stamps your hand, your hand to get in there, are the poor. What you do to the least of these, you do to me. I was hungry. I was thirsty. I was homeless. I was, without home. I was traveling. I was sick. I was in prison. When did we see you in that condition, Lord? Well, as surely as you did it to anyone else, I was there, and that person did it to me.
Right.
And the ones who do that are gladly welcomed into the kingdom of God. The ones who do not, it doesn't look good. The poor stamp your hand into everlasting life. I mean, I didn't say that. Matthew chapter 5 says that. Jesus himself.
Right. And a lot of times we're telling people, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but these people can't afford boots. What would they even put straps on?
Yeah, where are the bootstraps to pull on? That's very true. I think most Americans would prefer a hand up rather than a hand out. I think most Americans have pride. I know in my generation, it was almost unthinkable that you'd ever take any charity or help from someone else. I think sometimes we have to. Sometimes we need that. Certainly our military that are homeless need it. Those that are on the street with mental illness need it. Those who are dealing with, just all kinds of struggles through no fault of their own. They need that help.
They do. And I know that there are a lot of people who do ask and who take advantage. And we see that a lot on YouTube even. But that is not the majority of people. The majority of people want to take care of themselves, but they're not getting any help to take care of themselves. And that doesn't mean asking for handouts. That means asking for a fair society where your coffee doesn't go up $4 for some tariffs that are hurting you in the end,
Here's, Janie, if you don't mind, I'm going to I'll remove you and myself from the screen. And it kind of comes down to this. Well, you're important to me. Let me get rid of myself here. If you can see this, I hope you can. I could try to make this a little bit larger. Let's see. It says WWJD. Remember those bracelets we used to wear years ago? What would Jesus do bracelets?
Yeah, I used to pretend that it meant, what would Janie do?
What would Janie do? Or what would Joe do? Yeah, what would Jesus do? About a tax system that benefits the rich over the poor. What would Jesus do about a healthcare system that forces the sick to start a GoFundMe to pay for life-saving surgeries that their insurance are not going to pay for? Or those people who fall between the cracks. There are many people that can't afford the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. They have too much, and so they go without. What would Jesus do about an educational system that ties a child's school funding to the community property wealth? Or what would Jesus do about a college education so expensive young people are going to be indebted for decades? What would Jesus do about a nation a younger generation can't afford to enter the housing market? I've been harping about this. What would Jesus do about a justice system that incarcerates more people in this country than any place on the earth? You know, I was reading about that recently. Apparently, for anybody ICE picks up off the street and puts in a jail or temporary or prison or sends to some other nation, it is, I believe it came to several $1,000s per month that is being paid for these people to be incarcerated. That comes out of you and me, our tax money. It's a big industry. Incarceration, prisons are a big industry. What would Jesus do about a job market that doesn't pay a livable wage? What would Jesus do about an economic system that values profit over the health of our planet? How about those things? Well, it's a thought, isn't it? Something to think about. And you won't think about them unless you're in a reflective stage in your life. If you're stuck, locked into, that's the whole topic today, conventional thinking versus reflective thinking, then you'll be bogged down. You won't be able to do it. You'll be stuck. Here's
a huge industry, super cereal, and I would say at what cost to human beings.
And our tax dollar.
Private prisons, I feel, should have never become a thing. The privatization of medical care should have never become a thing. It becomes about profit and not people.
And Gladys, who are the modern day money changers? I guess that would be Wall Street. I guess if you want to put the 10 Commandments in school, start by putting "Thou shalt not steal" on a bronze placard right there in Wall Street.
And one thing you have to think about with privatization of our prison system, it's run like a business because it's for profit. What does a business need? Customers. So you have to keep creating new criminals to keep those beds full. And people are not products.
I'm just going to bring up this little, I think it's kind of important. This was the Minnesota senator who became vice president, Hubert Humphrey. And I think it's a good bottom line. Can you all read that? He's basically saying the moral test of government is how it treats those in the dawn of life, the children. You know, that would include WIC, W-I-C, food stamps. It would include any preschool lunch. That's right. All of those things that are at risk of being taken away. Oh, and by the way, I pointed out that in New Mexico, I'm so proud of New Mexico, they have universal child care. Universal. Yep. Child care is 100% free. 100% free to any family who needs it. No copay, nothing. Completely free.
And I imagine, and just so people are prepared, I imagine you're going to see a bunch of negative stories about it. But that is going to be the case with any change as large as that.
That's right. And just, I didn't read the...
Any change.
Right, and any change is difficult. Change is, because we've never done it that way before. People always are happy to say that. Well, change is challenging. It can be painful. But if our minds are reflective, we realize change is coming, hopefully because it's going to benefit a future generation, society, more so than we're doing right now. Just to complete what Humphrey said, the dawn of children, dawn of life, the children, those in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those in the shadows of life, sick, the needy, and the handicapped. And I think that is as beautiful a statement as I have ever heard in my life. It's a statement of caring and compassion. It's not something I think our government is fulfilling at this time. And I'm not saying that any government has done that, but I'm saying we can do a whole lot better than we're doing right now. Well, Jesus has insider information glasses, yeah. And the inside information is within us as well, because the Holy Spirit, which is Jesus' Spirit, is living inside of us. That's where we need to listen to it. The Gospel of John is full of examples of saying that. The indwelling Holy Spirit, which is his Spirit. So we have that inside information available to us. Super says, drive between Shiprock and Farmington. You'll be amazed at how poor people are. Yeah, may I ask, is that in Texas? I'm not familiar with those towns. I think I've heard of Farmington, but do you know, Janie? Is that Texas?
I don't know. I've heard of a Farmington in somewhere. But no, I don't know where those are.
Well, backing up to something you said earlier, Super, you said tough dilemma to decide where the government should run everyone or let private sectors participate. I don't see any problems with the private sector participating, do you? I see them completely running the show, completely running the government. So that's kind of laughable. Who's deciding what the private enterprise should do? Oh, no. All the wheels will come off there. They're in charge. You know, the captains of industry are telling senators and House members what to do. The captains of industry are doing that. So that's kind of a jokeable statement you made. No, and what they're doing, unfortunately, is ingratiating themselves. They're not helping the average American. And if you can't see that, then there's nothing I can say to help you. I've tried to help you see that. If you don't see the great disparity between wealth in this nation today, you don't only have to look no further than Elon Musk, whose own companies, not just to mention Amazon as I did earlier, who treats their employees horribly. Horribly. As soon as he got in to run Doge, the first thing he took care of was to make sure that he could remove any of the outstanding, and there were several government inquiries into how he was running his corporations. And he removed that obstacle. Is that what you want? That's not what I want. I want healthy work conditions. I want healthy work conditions for every American. I'm not interested in going back into the days of coal miner lung. You know? We should be better than that.
But I thought we were going to use clean coal.
Clean coal, yeah.
That's how he says it all the time. Clean coal. Beautiful, clean coal.
Well, you know, I mean, if there were such a thing, I'd be for it. But I think you know, if we want to throw science out completely, then coal must be wonderful. But I don't think it's a wise thing. What do we feel about NGOs? Well, USAID, for example, what a terrible travesty to get rid of that. That produced goodwill all around the world. When countries that really needed, I mean, we saved lives with USAID. For countries that received help from us, and imagine being humanitarian. What a wonderful thing to do. What a wonderful thing.
An NGO is. I'm not good with abbreviations.
Oh, NGOs, non-government organizations, okay. Mission-driven, kind of like USAID, Amnesty International, Greenpeace, rescue groups, right? They're non-profit, independent. The government's not involved in them. Well, USAID they were, but so they're usually humanitarian. But sometimes they would get government grants. I don't have a problem with that because they have proven to have done so much good for the world. I'm talking mainly about charitable ones, right? They've been involved in education and relief organizations, saving lives, medicine, all kinds of things. Greenpeace, I mean, there's people can probably say there's a controversy there with how Greenpeace is confrontive in terms of defending the environment. Human rights, Amnesty International, I mean, I don't know what you can say negative about them.
Yeah, I think we've all seen examples of when a company who is, doing something good for people, where it turns and they become an entity that isn't doing so much good anymore, and their CEOs are making huge profits. I think we've all seen those examples, but that's why oversight is so important.
Well, if you think the NGOs milk the government and you look at what they actually produce, first of all, you'd have to prove that they milk the government. Grants are being given to them from the government, but what benefit and what do they produce? Overall, a lot of good awareness, supporting human life, even saving human life. When it comes to vaccines, I mean, who wouldn't want that? Don't you want that? That's not milking the government, that's saving lives.
And I would say that we've seen recently the President of the United States own charitable organizations were milking the government and not helping the people that they were supposed to be helping.
Yeah, I mean, that's a wild-eyed claim. Where's the proof? Show me where they milk the government. I'll wait.
It happens. It's always going to happen. Someone's always going to find a way to work the system, and that's why the system needs oversight. Instead of someone coming in claiming to, have this doge power all of a sudden and just cutting everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, look.
Because one or two entities try and work the system and figure it out doesn't mean that everyone else is doing the same thing.
Right. And let's be realistic. Anytime you have human beings involved in government, anytime you have human beings involved in religion, anytime you have human beings involved in anything, you're going to find some shifty people. You're going to find human beings are not perfect. So if you want to point out some inconsistency, I'm sure you'll find it. Just as we can find, unfortunately, overwhelming travesties in our present administration. That's a very big difference. Very big difference. Moving from a democratic administration to a fascist administration, I would say that's a huge difference. Do I expect to find human grifting in both? Yeah, but I'd find a whole lot more in one than the other. We got to get real here. Well, I appreciate that, actually, not hating on NGO, just commenting on realities. No problem with that. No problem. You're going to find, because whether it's human beings, you're going to find people who make mistakes and people who do them intentionally to benefit themselves. I'm going to shift to Trump because he's our president. If we were in the Biden era, I'd be talking about Biden. Who else would I talk about?
I wasn't trying to shift to Trump. I was just using that as an example.
Yeah.
Of when it happens, when people do find a way to work the system to their benefit, they find the loopholes, and I really hate the loophole finders, unless they're working for the group that is trying to stop it from happening. You always need someone to look over it and find the vulnerabilities in a program, because there are always going to be people who are looking to find the loopholes and take advantage.
Right, and you say you're shifting to Trump. He is the president. The buck stops here, right? It's not the Biden administration anymore. It's not Obama's. It's not anybody else. It's Trump. He's been here a year. It was 4 years before in a previous administration. Of course we're going to talk about the president. That's who is our president at the present moment. So, you got to expect that. And this president is being very hands-on, not just locally, but globally. And is he going to get an awful lot of, you could say, people trying to look at what he's doing, being observational? Absolutely. If we're not, we're naive. We have to do that. You know what? And if he's doing a fine job, then we'll be able to say that. If he's not, and I would say that obviously is a concern people have. If you simply look, and I'll go back to it again, at the numbers in the latest polls, are Americans satisfied with what's happening today under Trump's administration? It's in the 30 percentile. They're not satisfied in every area, not just in one or two. Even in immigration, they're not happy. They're not happy with the way ICE conducts itself. We're not the Gestapo, but that's how they're behaving. Americans, people who are born here, legitimate citizens, because their skin is brown. Prove to me you're an American. And this has gone on way more than it should have. Unitary executive theory is right. No, this has to stop. And Americans have every right to observe their nation, its leaders, and what's going on, and then weigh in whether they approve or disapprove. And by far, there's no question about this. There's no debating this, even Fox numbers. It's in the 37 percentile of approval, which means 2/3 of Americans, almost 2/3, are not happy with Trump, period. Oh, I'm not even on thing here. Got to bring you up here. Sorry about that. I'm not saying anybody here. We're lay people. We don't have all the answers, but we're paying attention. Our eyes are open, and I'm not going to deny what my eyes see. I'm not going to shut off what my ears are hearing from other Americans around the country. Not going to do that.
I'm sorry,
Well,
I'm deep in thought. I'm gonna
Oh,
have
no.
something to say as soon as I figure it out.
You're fine. You're fine. Evelyn mentioned about fascism. What is fascism? What is it? Is Donald Trump really a fascist? Or is he an authoritarian? Well, I wanted to answer that question. I did some research on that. If you reject democracy in favor of a dictator or absolute king or monarch or someone who's using force and says things like, I'm your voice, I alone can fix it, and that's one of the 5 elements that defines fascism. A strong dictatorial leader. Number 2, what is fascism? It's someone who stokes rage against the cultural elites, right? And they displace regular people. Well, that's what happened as soon as Doge took over from Trump. Trump puts Doge in charge, and all kinds of people lost their jobs. And the Jews will not replace us. And fascists, who replaced all the people working in the government with people who went along with what Trump wanted. Number 3, in a fascist society, they create, they demand that by encouraging violence, they justify one group as superior to the other. And how is it judged? What's a superior group? White, right? Christian. We need Christian nationalism. This is a country that is a Christian nation. No, it's not. The Constitution bears that out. We're not, the First Amendment bears that out. We have religious freedom. We can't mandate Christianity here. Remember when they said when Mexico sends its people, it's not sending their finest or their best?
Bye, Super. Thank you. We're
Yeah, thanks. Super. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at you. Another example of what fascism is brute strength, right? And for large standing armies. So guess what happened? The National Guard was deployed, right? To put down the average American from protesting. That's part of our rights in the Bill of Rights, in our Constitution. Fascism rewards people who are bullies and protects their side with a standing army. And then the last thing, especially protecting the billionaire class, you got to admit that. Nazi fascism eliminated opponents like educators. What do you think they did to major universities recently, including Harvard? They bullied them into submission. And how about the disdain for women? Oh, we don't like strong women, and we don't like educated people, period. Uneducated people like me, Trump says. They're the people he likes. Yeah.
That is a direct quote. I like the uneducated.
I like the uneducated. He said that. And he doesn't like the LGBTQ. Well, he doesn't like poor and disabled people. Neither did Hitler.
And he doesn't like people who were captured.
Yeah, he doesn't like captured people. Fascism imposes hierarchies. That's their order of things. You better be white, and you better be Christian, and you better be a male, not a female. White male dominance. Women relegated to subservient roles. And you know what they did? They passed a law in Congress to establish there's only two genders, male and female. Well, guess what? Science disagrees with you. Another gender is intersex, right? Are you familiar with intersex, Janie?
Yes, I am.
Well, there are people born without any doctor touching them. And the doctor looks at the genital area and says, indistinguishable. We're not sure. And then they do further investigation. And they find out that they're intersex. They're people who have genitalia from both male and female. They might have...
They used to call them other things. I don't know if it's appropriate to say those words now, but which proves that it's always been the case.
Yeah. Science in this regard has proven that people are born, and you say, well, are they defective? The greatest defect within the human condition is mental defective, emotional defective, spiritual defective. Those are the people you have to worry about. They'll come looking for you with a standing army. People who are intersex aren't doing that. They just want to live in this world without violence happening to them. It's interesting because I've done my own research in the area of, in brain research, they call it neurology, in the field of neurology. And when any baby in the mother's womb is going between the 4th and the 6th month, usually the 4th and 5th, there's a sudden surge and a bathing of the brain with hormones. If there's a male genitalia of a baby in the 4th and 5th month, generally in the 4th and 5th month, the brain is going to get a sudden washing of male hormones. And that will make the brain male. It will make the brain of the baby in vitro think like a male. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes that sudden surge of hormones doesn't happen to that brain, and the baby has a male genitalia, and guess what happens? The brain is in default female. Every human brain is a female by default. So when that baby is born, that child's going to be thinking female, but has male genitalia. And that's the condition known as dysphoria. When you have dysphoria, the brain thinks it male or female, but the genitalia suggests otherwise. And there can be a whole wide variation. It's not just one extreme or the other, male, female. There's a continuum. Now that's what neurology tells us. So when a doctor looks at a baby and says, well, we can't tell if it's male or female. The last place we look is the brain, and it's unfortunate. When they've done autopsies on gay men, their brains resemble female cisgendered women. The brain, to me, I'll tell you myself, is the final court of appeal. The brain. Because I'm appealing to science, not feeling. I'm appealing to the logic of science, which tells us how the brain is composed and how it operates and what affects it. And these hormones definitely affect it. Women will tell you, when the hormone levels change, that affects them profoundly. Would that be fair to say, Janie?
Oh, yes, definitely. And I have not done a lot of study on what you're talking about right now, so I'm learning a lot from listening. But in general, what I already know from what I've learned is that you are correct. The brain has the final say. The genitals are a mere way of the transport for procreation. The brain has the final say.
Well, when all is said and done, to me, the brain, I always say the final court of appeal. My mother had breast cancer, and they removed her breasts back in the 1957, 56. That was the best science had, medical science at that time. Did she stop feeling a woman? No. She knew herself to be a woman.
Exactly.
Whether she had sexual organs or the breasts or whatever, if a man has his testicles blown off by a bomb, does he cease being a man? No. His brain tells him what he is. The brain is the most important indicator for who we are.
And as an aside, that's exactly why I'm of the opinion that when they do things like chemical castration or castration of a sex offender, that is not a good way to say that this person is now no longer dangerous, because so much of sex offense lies in the brain. Now, does it change their testosterone levels and things like that? Yes, but a brain that is primed for violence and control and all of that has nothing to do with the sexual organ.
Right.
Just as an aside, I'm sorry I changed, but
No, you're good, and I'm noticing what Gladys is saying too. I appreciate what you mentioned about the neural networks. We're getting really into heavy science here. I'm not proficient or an educator in this area, but I do research. I do look things up. I do study. I think it's important to do all we can, as long as we're, I'm an old guy, but as long as I can breathe in and out, my brain works well, I'm thinking clearly, then why not learn? Why not continue to learn? So thank you for Gladys for doing that.
So I suppose in sex offenders you may keep the organ from offending again, but when the organ of offense lies in the brain, there are other ways to offend, even without the genitals.
Right.
So that's why I don't feel, in my opinion, that that's a successful way. Can it be part with therapy and with, cognitive and behavioral type things? Yeah, it could be part of maybe creating someone who's not an offender anymore. But
right.
But your point about the brain being the organ that determines who you are is correct.
Yeah, I wanted to address what Black Eagle said here. I'm sorry. I want to apologize right now for missing people's comments. I'm sorry. I have skin in the game. I have a family member who's transitioned. And Black Eagle mentioned that's why so many people regret having a sex change. Actually, I disagree. In all due respect, I do. Most people who undergo they call it gender affirming medical transition, do not report regretting it. In fact, most don't. It says roughly most long-term follow-up studies show low regret, commonly in the range of 1 to 3%, which means between 99 and 97% are happy they had that transition. Of course, why would you hear about it? It would be because people who have had it would be the ones making the most noise about it. People who have transitioned, like an older sibling of mine, doesn't want to be embroiled in, figuring out, will society accept me? They feel they've made the decision to be accepted in society, to accept themselves as who they truly believe themselves to be, and they want to move on with their life. They're not looking to go public, and so they don't talk a lot about that. They want to move into a realm of peace in their life. Those who do regret it are in the tiny minute of minority of that. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out, Black Eagle. 1 to 3%. Let's see. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah. Hey, Evelyn, would you like to come up? I meant to ask, is there anybody else who'd like to come up? Dolly? Does anybody want to come up? Evelyn? Black Eagle? Phil?
I love Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is probably the one theory that that I have found the most use for in my lifetime. Well, for as long as I've known about it.
Right. Yeah, Maslow, just absolutely excellent. I probably got a chart or two on him I could bring up. Let me make copy a link for, I'm going to make sure this is correct. Black Eagle, are you saying you want to come up? You said, well, that's good. Or are you, I'm not sure if you're asking for a link. Anybody who would like a link, I'll put one out here for you. And now you ask.
Evelyn saying that she thinks it's part of evolution. And I think that's an interesting idea, Evelyn. I think about that a lot. I think that we are still evolving as a species. And I've often had the thought that autism could be part of evolution. The way the world is changing around us, the needs for socialization are changing around us. And I think that that's a very interesting thought, that gender and the, confusion, I don't like to use that word, but for lack of a better word at the moment, could very well, it's an interesting thing to think about. The way that our social constructs are changing, and the needs of the world around us and our needs, that it could be one of those things. We haven't lived long enough to actually, see evolution happen, like animals that were in the water and then they got legs and they came out of the water and all of that. It takes a long time. But yes, it's an interesting thought to think about.
Yeah.
Hey, Conklin.
Yeah, welcome, Conklin. Conklin's a good guy. He's a very talented artist, right? Many things. Black Eagle, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Really quickly, I want to tell you that my blood sugar has gone down a little bit. I need to eat. So I'm going to jump down. And I hope that Evelyn or someone will come up and continue the conversation, because I'm going to be listening. I just need to eat something.
Okay, no problem. Please do that, please.
Okay.
And thank you so much, Annie, for having been up here, and I appreciate your wisdom. You have some wonderful background, not just in the area of psychology, but in life itself. Thank you for sharing yourself here today.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you inviting me, because I really do enjoy these conversations with you.
Yeah, mutual.
Okay, so I'm jumping down. Someone else come up.
Okay, who wants to come up? Just let me know. First come, first serve. I'll put out a link, and it can be more than one at a time. There can certainly be 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, whatever. So, Phil, if you want to come up, Black Eagle, Evelyn, Dolly, Gladys, I don't care. Oh, RC, Arts, you're here. Whoever would like to come up, just let me know. Just say, send me a link, and I will do that. Yeah, I haven't eaten anything today myself. Interestingly, see, Black Eagle says, enough, nobody told me, and I hadn't realized it was Sadie. I appreciate your sharing also about the transitioning. I have friends, not just in my own family, but elsewhere, that have transitioned, and it's a small, very quiet part of the community in this country. There are people that serve in the military that have transitioned. I mentioned previously, not today, but we have a member of the Seattle Police Department who's transitioned. We have a member of the King County Sheriff's Department that's transitioned as well. That's good. That's wonderful. So I don't have anybody wanting to come up. You just want to listen to me? I can't imagine why. I can get rather tiring. And I do feel, I hope I haven't offended Super. It got a little bit testy maybe. But we're adults here. We can handle it. I think that he's more than capable, as I am. And I should have, golly, I should have. Super, if you're still here, if you want to come up on panel, I'll send you a link. Then we can really go back and forth. How about that? Anybody want a link to come up? Just let me know. Oh, okay, Phil. All right, here, this is Phil's link. I'll put your name after it, Phil, right? This is Phil's link. Nobody else, just Phil. And so your audio is ready to go. Dolly, did you want a link? I'll send you one. Just let me know. Anybody, Black Eagle, whoever wants to come up. I'm nonpartisan, mostly. Maybe a little bit partisan. Phil, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Phil, we hear you. Hi, welcome.
Great. It feels good being here.
Well, it's good to have you. Is it good being had? I'm
Sure.
sorry, I couldn't resist.
It was
Go
a
ahead,
while,
Phil.
yes, it was a good one.
It was a good one. I'm glad you're here. Feel free to chime in if you want. Anything you want to say, it's wide open.
I enjoy listening to people that know way more than me about the issues, and I'll even go as far as to that includes Dana also. But my theory on it's easier to say nice things about people that you like than it is about people that you don't like. Even she has knowledge. Look, there I am. Look at that.
Oh, good. You see yourself.
A cool picture.
Yeah, it is.
I typed in when I first started messing with AI way back then, and it was just once or twice, I typed in Vigilum, and this is the image it came up with.
Oh, really? It's always interesting to find out why people chose their name.
Yeah, this was, well, I chose it because of cohortes vigilum from Rome, ancient Rome. They were like night watchmen and firemen that patrolled the city. I like that sort of thing. So
Right.
I kind of, I ruin the reputation of the name by being who I am. I did it earlier today by believing somebody was going to be a little bit more conversational, and then I just lost my grip on what were you guys calling it? Reflective.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so it went more the other direction. But what I find interesting around here is somebody will come at you for your opinion, and I've probably done it too.
Or
And what's happening?
Wait a minute, I hit something. Hold on. Oh damn. I hit something I shouldn't have. Hopefully it's done. Sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
nobody would have known.
Oh,
about
wait a
the
minute,
other
wait a
kid
minute,
had
wait a
I
minute.
not- So it's not his fault. It's my fault. That's my
That-
fault.
Hey, Randy, it's Randy.
I know it. That shouldn't be playing. Hold on. Damn it. I don't even know where that's coming from.
The panel was rough. and
Oh,
that
damn.
panel was very
Just
rough. I
talk.
had a
Let's
lot of
talk over the
anxiety.
top of it. I don't want.
Okay.
This shouldn't be
So
playing.
yeah, Walrus.
I don't know
Lion
where it
has
is.
very
I can't
common
even
issue
find
with
it.
Me. Just ask Pam.
Oh, damn it.
I wonder
Shit.
who you are. But I did lie.
Wait a minute. I think I found it.
don't.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. Randy, if you ever listen to this, I apologize. I hit something by mistake, and that was not supposed to happen.
He right before he did it, he said, "Watch this."
That's right.
That's what he said.
No, my God.
Not really. The
Sorry
amount of
about that.
people around here that hear their names, they're here. You'll be telling a story, totally benign. They'll hear the names, and all of a sudden, wow, he's freaking out, and they don't like to hear their. Oh my God, you said my name.
I
But,
know. Excuse me.
but I don't. I really have a problem with people that don't stay current on who they're talking about. Like when somebody comes at me and they have issues with my opinions and my things that I say, well, I try to stay up to current with other people if we tend to be fighting with each other. But it sounded like the bickering that I was having earlier was with somebody that avoids me, and that's what they said. And so, how can they possibly be current with my beliefs and what I? So I still hold a little bit of leeway with them because they're not current on my thoughts and my beliefs, because they avoid me because they don't like what I have to say. They're very. Did you say constructive? What was the other word? The C word? No, not the C word. You guys were talking about earlier. You and Janie.
Oh, conventional.
Conventional and reflective.
Yeah.
And I took it as reflective is like you reflect on yourself, right?
Right. Exactly.
And I try to do that in real time, and try to cut down my words. And I try to, when somebody asks a question, which Jeff has a huge problem with me not answering questions right away. It's not intentional. I know he hates it, and today was just one of those days. But I try to do it in real time, like be reflective, treat people the way you want to be treated. But hey, hold on, these people are saying this, so you got to go after them. I've learned some of the things around here, be it right or wrong.
Yeah.
But some of the troll phrases, and I know you know what I'm talking about, like, oh, I bet the first thing you do is wake up and hate people, stuff like that. It really bothers me that there's a list of things that are parroted by a lot of people that are trolls.
Right.
And I know you've witnessed that sort of thing in your tenure here on the tube.
I have. Well, Phil, I'll piggyback on that. First thing, when you mentioned about where your avatar came from, with the Roman influence, was that right?
Yeah, the Roman Empire way back in the old days, ancient.
Yeah. I wanted to clear something up. When you said that, it reminded me of something I haven't cleared up that I want to clear up. And that is, now everybody watch me. Watch what I'm doing with my hand. Oh, let me do it up higher. That is not a Roman salute. That is a Hitler. That's a fascist salute. Now let me prove it. Yes, there has been no historical evidence, and I get this from a professor emeritus on Greco-Roman study in England. I'm trying to remember which university, one of the big ones. And he made it very clear, because he was asked that question, would you clear this up? Is Elon Musk making a Roman salute? Because that's what a lot of people were suggesting. And he's saying there's nothing even close to that in ancient Greco-Roman times that would resemble a salute like that. So that is clearly not what Elon Musk did had anything to do with Rome. It had everything to do with what resembles Adolf Hitler did. So that's the first thing I wanted to clear up for a long time. And so anyway, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, my remembrance of that was it happened. I didn't know it until my kids wrote me a note saying, "Are you watching this? Did you see this? What does this mean? Does it mean something bad or whatever?" And I was like, "Well, that's Sig Heil. That's a Nazi salute." And they're like, "No way!" And then I looked into it, and sure enough, I mean, that's what he was doing.
Yeah,
and it was even people around here was like, "No, it's a wave. He's giving you a hug by his heart. He's hugging his heart and giving it to you. He's everything to cover up the truth and make it more sinister." Which to me, that's what happens if you continue to cover up stuff with falsehoods. It gets more sinister. Whatever the truth is, whatever the facts are that you're trying to push.
Right.
If they're not truthful and you cover it up with stuff, you're lying and you're part of the problem.
Yeah, throwing his heart out to you, yeah. That might have been the last thing he was doing. I would never expect a nearly $1 trillion financier to be throwing his heart out my way. I mean, I'm looking for the day when he loves his transgender daughter. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that also. Another thing is, I sort of give leeway, and of course, unless I don't like you, to an affliction you're dealing with, like autism or whatever. If you're, whatever his is, Asperger or whatever his is,
Right.
I even gave some leeway to that. Like, maybe he's not good in front of crowds. Well, he proves that wrong by going in front of crowds. He has people he sees probably in, auditoriums that he talks to that are employed by himself or by his companies. And to me, that's not an issue, so I just cut that out. Other people, though, if I don't like them, I don't really worry about their affliction. So,
well, I mean, we're living in a time that I've never seen such what I call ad hominem or intimate personal details being talked about publicly, and it's being done from the highest office in the land to every one of us on social media. I guess it's just the way things are. I'm not sure it's necessarily a good thing. I think that we need to protect people's identity or their location or what have you for hopefully what would be obvious reasons. But no, but there are times, I think you said it earlier, when we really do need to address issues that are pertinent and that they need addressing, and they can't wait. And I think some of those issues, I admire this community for being able to do that. Well, you've done that yourself, Phil.
I've also failed at that. Today was another example of failing at that, but I think when I left the conversation, I let the last word be the last word that was said for a reason. Anyway, so, which wasn't very nice or Christian. So, whatever. It's just my opinion.
Well, we're also adults, and we're the nomenclature and language we use today this is normal. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe we need to refine it a bit, humanitize it, sanitize it, whatever. But sometimes there are words. I used the cuss word today. I used the SOB, and
okay.
Yeah, sometimes there are circumstances that require that sort of language.
Yeah, that was my first experience with the cussing sphere. Was my dad used that phrase when he was working on one of his cars, and he was frustrated, and he said, "Son of a bitch!" And then when I went in, I was like, "What does this mean, Mom?" And she wanted to know very clearly how he used it. Like, did he say "you are a son of a bitch," or did he just say "son of a bitch"? I cleared it up, being 7 or how old I was, But I thought that was interesting. So.
Yeah. Well, Janie said sometimes there's no better words than the words that kind of at least grab the attention of the people listening.
And I've tried. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, it's what do they call it? The lingua franca. It's the language of the people. that is. There was a case that went before a judge some years ago. Somebody sued somebody from YouTube. It was a YouTube squabble, like we have so many of them. And the judge, it got in front of the judge, and it had to do with, debasing their personhood and so on. And the judge said, "You know what? This is from what I have noticed." The judge was saying so many words. This is normal. This is what you people do. There's nothing extraordinary here. If you don't like this is the normalcy, then you shouldn't be there. But this is what I hear all the time. He dismissed the case. It had to do with someone wanting to sue over libel or what's the other one? Hey, look, this is the new normal. Whether we like it or not, I'm not sure I like it entirely. I like civility a little bit now and then.
Well, when you're a civil person and you are, without sounding like a victim, like I've been placed in that position by one of the people here, is when you're a civil person and somebody comes after you for no reason that you know of, just to be fun or whatever they do, then it's kind of strained. You want to fight back with what you have, which is, I've learned, a great heaping help of nothing. So it's, you either learn how to use your words, you learn how to ignore, because ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah. I think this is a big boy territory, a big girl territory. This is what we would expect, and if it isn't for the faint of heart, then those folks may not find this to their liking. I like an intelligent conversation like anybody else. Some people would prefer, and if you look at the number of concurrent viewers, I think there's 12, that speaks volumes. That tells me the people in our community or the people in our environs, they're looking for something a little more than this. We're just a tad bit too serious. They're waiting for somebody, and I won't say names, that would be indiscreet, but they're waiting for somebody to have something heavy laid on them, and they want names named. They want circumstances, and they want everything spelled out. And it's a kind of, I don't know, looky-loo sort of attitude we have. We crane our necks to see the car accident, but we miss all the important things instead.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I just, I don't expect to have more than 10 or 12 people in here. When I was doing, if you go back, I've been on YouTube a little over 11 years. First big major thing that affected my channel, and that was the very first St. Jude scandal. And when that was going on, that's more than 6 years ago now, when St. Jude 1.0 was going on, I had 300, 400, 500 people. I wasn't interested in numbers, but they were interested in the scandal, and they wanted to know how it was going to all turn out. And it was pretty big. You talk about psychology like we're talking about today, or politics, and the numbers completely fade. It's not what they want here. Now, there are parts of the community that maybe would, but this isn't one of them. Just a few of us, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know. Super redundant damage for one day. Yeah, you know, I'm still going to think of him in a positive note. You know, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I would hope for him to just, and I will do the same. I'll give him the same advice I hope I'll take myself. I'll look into what he is, and I already did to some degree. Excuse me. I will look into what he said. I hope he'll look into what I've said. And just fact check each other. Nothing wrong with that. I don't want to ever make anything personal. Why make it personal? Sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
Right. No, there's nothing wrong with fact checking. I've moved into this phase where, regardless of if it's a thought out, you know, subject matter like economics or whatever, I just consider the source. And
Right.
he's been a real jerk. I've witnessed, and so there's not any respect there. And it would be nice if that was different, but he should have been nicer. Or I'm sure I'd learn something from him. You know.
Well,
Yeah, when I was looking at
yeah. Go ahead.
when I was looking into U-Hauls for moving stuff from California, it was horrible. It was There was no way that we were going to be able to afford any of that. So that was I experienced that. But when I used the word greed, I don't think he agreed with that, because it's, to me, when something's higher price someplace, it's greed, not a higher up telling U-Haul how to run their business.
Right.
It's just greed.
Yeah, those are locally owned, I believe. U-Haul in California pays higher rent for their equipment. U-Haul is dealing with higher gas prices. U-Haul is dealing with a lot of things, and probably maintenance of their vehicles. I would say, just in general, that would explain why U-Hauls are more expensive out there. But if you went to get a job in California, you'd be getting a much higher paid job. Same thing would be true of New York City. Compare that with, someplace in Mississippi. You know, it varies by region, and that's all I meant to him. Just, the cherry picking thing. We can go from city to city around the country and probably make a point. But in fairness, we have to look at the country as a whole and look at people as a whole, the struggles that they're going through. And everybody counts. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I think every person who's having trouble, we need to be concerned and do the best we can for each other. And feelings are real important. I was confused by what he was saying there. I'd have to ask him to give me a little more information on that. But the feeling part, I think that people I'm always fascinated by why they hold the positions they hold, Phil. I'm always wondering, well, okay, that's your view. Why do you hold it? And one thing is, well, is it factual? Okay, well, let's determine if it's true. But why do you hold that view? That's really interesting. Then you get down to oftentimes loyalty. And some people talk an awful lot about, what's that term? Dana uses it quite a bit. I wasn't going to mention Dana, but she and I have gotten along all right. Group think. How influential. I mean, look at peer pressure. How much did that affect us as teenagers? I don't think it's much different. I think that groupthink, people don't want to be in a community where they have to stand alone. And they might give away their mother and their firstborn if they can get a community to accept them and welcome them in. Nobody wants to stand on their own.
That's very true. Yeah, with that, I just took it as an insult and just consider the source. So,
Well, and you get to know people eventually, and I'm a little newer. I'm still getting to know people in this particular community. When I first arrived here a little over a year ago, I knew Evelyn. I knew of Dana. I didn't know her real well. I knew of Dana, Evelyn, and Kathy. And I believe that's the only three. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but most everyone else was new to me. It takes a long time,
It does. And a lot of switching back and forth with what you talked about, loyalty. Uh, yeah, that's
Right.
a big part of all. That's too bad because when it's as petty as some of the loyalty crap that happens around here, you miss out. I've been talking to someone that we've been trying to work out you miss out learning about somebody and maybe
Hmm.
an important thing that you would never know if you weren't friends or talking or acquaintances or whatever. You don't know the person that's going to walk up with you on the street and say something to you in a combination of words that's going to change your way of thinking.
That's
You
right.
never know.
I had that happen to me on here recently. I won't mention any names, but I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm as human as anybody else. I remember a lot of what people say about me, and there was a woman who said some things about me that weren't too nice, and I went up on a panel. I guess she appreciated what I had to say, and she was speaking to me in a very favorable way. And I thought, well, that's marvelous. I'm glad that. Usually, what happens is people don't like you for it could be any number of reasons, but oftentimes some poisons the well. They say, well, I heard he's this way or he's that way. Stellar manipulates women with his money. I've heard that. I don't do that at all. But if somebody thinks that, they could tell 10 other people, and now I've got 10 people who look at me adversarial, and and then they get to know me for the first time, and they go, "Oh, he's not so bad. He's not so bad." And at least people, it's nice if they leave the door open to the possibility that wouldn't we want to give everybody, wouldn't they want you to leave the door of judgment open so that you won't judge them on the first comment someone else tells you?
And some people say, not somebody, but some people around here say that nothing really affects them that other people say about them.
Yeah, right.
Either a bull-faced lie, or it's true and you have no feelings, or
Yeah.
so.
Well, those people are out committing mass murders. Those people without feelings. Some of them. No, I think it's the otherwise. I hear people feel I love this area because people say all the time, "I don't care. I don't care anymore." Oh boy, do you ever care? Because if you didn't really care, you wouldn't even be talking about it. No, these people deeply care.
Yeah, earlier I used the phrase "Who cares?" When someone's telling me about JD Vance's windows being busted in with a hammer, and I've gotten in contact with him, and I'm going to put up some plywood later tomorrow, whenever he gives me the call. Me and JD are tight.
Yep.
I just made all that up.
I know you
I made
did.
it all up. I'm joking because I'm real good at it.
Well, we need thinkers with an open mind and creative mind, and that's marvelous. Hey, Evelyn put down for bringing Joe over here. Actually, she did. I had done something a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, and she made a comment on side chat about some video I did, I guess. And I thought, oh, there's Evelyn. I haven't seen her in forever. So I went over to her channel, and I said, I wonder how she's doing. And then we connected. That's how that happened.
Yeah. I remember talking about you.
Oh, is that right?
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that goes back. That goes back a few years. Yeah. There's a whole set of.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Phil, please.
I was just going to say, I think I do myself a disservice when I say I won't listen or give any credibility to somebody I find less than positive in my opinion. I think I'm doing myself a disservice by saying I consider the source and I won't listen to them. Because you're short-sighted. You're not listening to a point of view. When it gets to coddling racist and white supremacy and white nationalists and all that stuff, to me, I don't care if it's apples and oranges or whatever. To me, it's all the same, and I don't like people that support it, hang out with it, try to defend it like was done earlier when I was up on Jeff's panel. I think it was Jeff's panel. It wasn't him, but when somebody tries to dismantle what everyone knows, that is supporting it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
opinion.
that's well, Phil. I tend to feel the same. I I don't have a lot of lines I draw, but when it comes to bigotry, that's a big line for me. That's Trump's black marker. That's my marker.
Yeah.
Bigotry, racism, and prejudice towards minorities and anyone who has been oppressed, including women. I really have a big problem with that. And so, most of the time, I'm okay if people don't like me. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and people probably don't like a lot of us, and we'll never know why. And but honestly, if we gave each other a chance, I think we have much more odds of that changing. And everyone, in my opinion, has something important to say. Super Serial has something important to say. Dana has something important to say. You, Phil, have something important to say. Jeff does. Everyone does. Evelyn. But the area that I can't cross, and I will not even entertain it with humor, has to do with racism and bigotry in general. Anybody who makes a joke is laughing down at you. That's no good. Now, we can laugh together and laugh up, which uplifts, but I will not speak about, for example, I'll give an example, Haitian refugees that eat our pets and make a joke out of that. That's laughing down. That's denigration. That's intended to harm. That's propagating and propping up a stereotype, a caricature. That's wrong, no matter how you cut it. So even when that's being done, it does not justify for me. And I'm no special guy. Somebody the other night, I forget what's his name, said I was virtue signaling. Randy. No. If ever I do that and I'm a hypocrite, then yes, point that out to me. Then that's a true virtue signal. If I talk about not being a bigot, but I behave like one, then point that out to me. Yes. But don't make it up.
And it's however they define it too. If they want to define something as virtue signaling because they're on one side of the argument, then that's on them, and they're dumb. So.
Well, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people do things for different reasons, and some people are just prodding to see what will happen. Lots of people are test the waters. Not exactly an ideal way to behave, but that's, human nature is very strange.
And some people even said it was, like old, not old, but 60s and 70s stand-up comedy. It was really funny because it was biting. It was edgy, and that made it more funny. I've been told that I don't have a funny bone, or I don't know what humor is because it's not edgy. There's some edginess. You can have edginess without all the other stuff. I mean, through my life, I've laughed at some edginess, and I feel however I felt about it then. Whatever. I don't think about it now, but yeah.
Right. A good example, George Carlin, an edgelord back before we had that term. I'm trying to think of it. Joe Pine back in the day. There's others. But I do think that, humor has a purpose. And, All in the Family, Archie Bunker, that show, broke through some barriers. I think it was important. We were at the time, time was of the essence. Timing is everything. And it was a time in which our country was undergoing a lot of change. Young people were on the street making their voices heard. Sure, there were phony gurus and drug people, but there was also people who really wanted to celebrate human life without the domination of corporate America or any other power broker. And I think that's healthy. And I think George Carlin was one of those that came along at a time. I wish he were here today. He'd have a lot to say.
For sure.
Addressing, Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. My dad was watching George Carlin, and I started watching him and hearing him along with my dad. But I guarantee you right now, my dad would not be finding that man funny at all or hysterical or anything. He would disagree with him to the day he dies, and that's unfortunate to me. That's a horrible That's a horrible thing that happened. I don't know where it happened or what. You get older and you become more conservative, and you hate more.
Some
I mean,
do.
So
Yeah, I've heard that many times, Phil, what you just said. As we get older, we get more conservative. I don't think that it has to happen. I don't think it necessarily does happen. To me, the trend would be to be more progressive. If you walk through the gospel, the New Testament, the entire New Testament is a liberal paradise. It is, I did a video about this. It is truly a liberal paradise. Jesus was as progressive as they come. Jesus didn't want a copay when he did a miracle, physical healing. Jesus was telling the rich to give to the poor and give away what they have. Jesus was talking, if you read the second chapter of the Acts of the Apostles, that book, the second chapter of the Acts, it's all about communism. There has never been a nation on earth that's ever had true communism. Communism is what awaits us in heaven, in my personal opinion, because communism, in the strictest sense of the word, is about being in a commune where we share all things in common. We break the bread with exultant hearts. We give to those who have need. That's in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 2.
the greater good.
The greater good, yes. No one lords it over anyone else. Red China, Soviet Union, they've never had true communism. They've always had major groups that were over and above others. That's not communism. That's fascism.
Yep.
Oh, welcome, Jeff. Good to see you.
No, but by the way, Jeff gave me a virus, and I'm very sick now.
Oh, no.
I know. I don't know how it happened, but he's magic.
Well, that's a lot of miles to send a virus.
It is. He does it through truncated IP messaging boards. I don't know how he does
Really?
it. Something with the Geek Squad. I don't know.
Are you sure it's not with RFK Jr. that maybe he's working? Possibly?
It could be.
Maybe?
It could be. Yeah.
RFK is going to give us med beds in a year or so. Med beds, which are alien technology. We're all going to, if you have an arm missing, it'll grow it back. Fascinating.
Right
Yeah.
it is. I sub to RC Arts.
Oh, he's wonderful. Yeah. Yep. You know why I know he's wonderful?
How's that? You
Phil?
checked out his stuff.
No. I know that RC Arts is wonderful because over the past couple of weeks, I've had conversations with RC, and he said to me, Joe, I'm wonderful. And I said, yes, Art, I got it. No, Joe, really, I am wonderful. And I said, okay, I got it. You're wonderful. That's how I know.
That's fantastic, and
I'm sorry.
that's why I sub to him, 'cause he's wonderful.
Exactly. I miss what Janie said. Could it be that as we get older, we get more uncertain and afraid of our security in the world? So out of fear, we become more conservative. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Elderly people return to the state we were, usually if they live long enough, to where they have complete dependence upon society or someone. It might be a child, and your parents are being taken care of by older children, or society itself. But yeah, we become fearful. That's a very good point, Janie.
And there's been conservative. I've been really conservative with physical activity because I never wanted to fall down and hurt myself, break a bone. So I've been very conservative and I could be looked at it like that with my physical activity. Now I'm not talking about walking or lifting a few free weights or something like this just to keep muscle tone or whatever, so you can exist here. It's conservative with the physical activity or what you put in your body, or food wise or drink wise or whatever. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm word salading. A lot of people like to hear my word salads because a lot of times it doesn't make any sense. And it's okay. I don't have a source for any of this. I just make up words that are in my brain. So,
Like most
my
of us.
excuse. It's my excuse.
I like it though. No, word salad. That's right. Sometimes we're heavy on the tomatoes, sometimes heavy on the
Yep.
mayo, but hey, it's still salad. It
Sometimes
works.
there's way more tomatoes. So
That's right. Tomatoes. That's right. Boy, Jamie's having a hell of a conversation with Evelyn out there. Do you think empathy can be taught later in life? You know what's interesting about empathy? Got to take a drink here first.
what the hell's empathy?
Yeah, what is empathy? That's one of the later stages of Lawrence Kohlberg's 7 stages of human development, where we, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Albert Schweitzer, Marie Curie. I'm trying to think of people, anybody you can think of that you really admire. Those are the ones, ultimately.
Oprah?
Yeah, Oprah Winfrey, yeah. Look under
I
your
don't know.
seat. You get a car, and you get a car. But empathy is, I think it's not, doesn't fall from the sky. It grows over a lifetime. If Donald Trump had been introduced to a food bank or a soup kitchen, a clothing bank, or a warming station, or a place somewhere in his in New York City where his father introduced him to the poor of this world, I think it could have had a concomitant effect on helping him to be a better human being.
Really?
My hope is, but see, the problem with that is we know too much about his parents, and we know how really, well, I wouldn't have wanted to be born into that family.
Right.
And
that's
as a result, yeah.
Right.
Children
But
learn what they live. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead, Phil.
do feel, no, it's fine. I do feel that on the way to lunch one day, he has put many soup kitchens out on the front stoop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I feel.
Yeah, no,
Is it
I'm sure
true?
that's true. Well, we know what he's done with people when, he was the epitome of a slumlord, and where he wouldn't even rent to people of color if he could avoid it. We know how
Right.
he wouldn't pay his subcontractors. We know all about that. All the bankruptcies, all the horrible, just go on and on and on. I mean, imagine if you're a person that you can't even keep a casino afloat, what kind of a businessman you are. But this man, is a product of his environment. His father, I think, say no more. And Cohen, the attorney that was a family friend, these people were cutthroat. They were just dastardly. So am I surprised? No. But if somebody had gotten to him at age 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, you want to you want to know, where does empathy come from? It's from being loved. They say if you don't pick up and hold a child at least 7 times a day when they're an infant, you might be hurting them. I don't know if he was ever picked up and held. You wonder. And in no way am I excusing what he's done. He has done horrible things.
Right. And I also would like to say, at times like this is, and he's not the only one. There are
No.
thousands of people just like him on different levels of whatever. He just happened to be, able to buy his way to where he is. So,
Right.
And whatever that means to anybody out there. So,
Oh, and Evelyn mentioned the Central Park 5. Yeah, the blame surely has to be on 5 young black men. And as it turns out, he was completely wrong. They were exonerated by, I believe, DNA evidence. Phil, I took a class at Seattle University. I live out here in the Seattle area. It was on phenomenology. And phenomenology, you know who was in the class with me? All cops. The class was filled with police. And the reason they sent them to that class I was taking was because phenomenology teaches you the psychology of objectivity. If you see a Hispanic male walking down the street, the first thing you think of, he's got a knife in his jacket. Or the first thing you think when a young black man walking down the street is where his tattoos and what gang does he belong. They were trying to teach them. That's what phenomenology was about. Is seeing people as unique individuals and not to characterize them. They were trying to teach our police, to avoid doing that, and it was in their best interest because lawsuits are crushing a lot of law enforcement agencies. They have to, they have to be
Yeah,
careful
that's
about
true.
that kind of thing. But
I was
yeah,
watching Men
we
in
picked
Black
up.
3. Go ahead.
No, you please.
I was watching Men in Black 3, and Will Smith got himself a Cadillac and took it because he was on his way someplace, and then he got pulled. This was 1969. He went back in time. Of course, it's just a story. But the only time traveler is Miller. But he was traveling along the road, and he got pulled over by these two cops, and they were like really interested on where he got the car and what he did for a living and all this other stuff. And it was just pointing out what has happened, what is happening, what will probably happen. Profiling.
Yeah, profiling is the word, and I think that one of the things that is a hallmark of a person who, according to Kohlberg, is self-reflective, is saying that person approaching me, unless I know them, which I probably won't, is a unique human being, and let's not take anything for granted. There's a story, it happens more than we think. Grandma is coming back from shopping at Safeway or wherever store, grocery store, and she's got 2 armloads full of groceries, and down the street, coming up the sidewalk, coming right to her, is 2 men who happen to be African American, black. And she gets panicky the closer they get. Eventually, she drops one of her bags, and lo and behold, what happens? They reach down, pick up everything, help her collect her stuff, and walk her back to her home.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to liberate our minds. I'm not saying be foolish. I'm saying keep your mind open. It's much better if we do.
It's just like going to a good part of a bad town and saying the N-word. How did that story go, Jeff? Maybe you can help me with this. I can't remember exactly. It was somebody said something dumb. That's all.
Yeah, that'll get people's attention real fast. But All in the Family, that show with Archie Bunker, really did take on a lot of the stereotypes and address them. And I think they did a good job for as much as they could at the time that program came out. They were way ahead of themselves.
Yeah, we were a All in the Family household. We never missed it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I don't know if there's anybody else want to come up. Been on almost 4 hours.
My God.
I know, imagine that. I don't usually come on for that long, but if anybody's wondering if they're ever welcome here, I can't think of one person that's not welcome here, unless they're a person who is a declared bigot or racist. They would not be welcome here. But everyone else is. I'm just saying, I want people to know that they are welcome here.
I really appreciate that. I wish I could learn that.
Well, you know what? That might change in time, Phil. It might change.
Maybe.
I mean, I try to remain open. One of the hallmarks of the gospel is that being imperfect people though we are, is that we make a legitimate, honest attempt to reconcile. And I tell you, heaven rejoices. That's what we should be doing. If we don't do it here, how are we going to get along with all these people we don't like here, up there? Whatever up there is. I mean, I think that we have to work at that. And I think we have the wherewithal to do it. I always say that it's an inside job. There's only one reason we fail at that, getting along with people, is we're not listening to that inner voice. We're listening to our amygdala. Studying the brain, we have an amygdala on the left and right-hand side of our brains. We're listening to that knee-jerk, kill or be killed voice. We're not listening to the other.
Yeah, and that takes a lot out of you. Believe me. It happened to me today. It may seem something that I do more often than not and maybe easy for me, but it does take a lot.
Well, it's a road we're all walking, and some people say when you're going through hell, and it feels like hell, doesn't it? Keep walking.
Yeah.
Don't get bogged down. And sometimes we have to try on new friends. We have to do whatever we can. But not a one of us is perfect, and we all need to be a little more humble, starting with myself, and try to be willing to hear other people. Everyone has a message. Wasn't that in that old song, Desiderata? You know, everyone has a story to tell. We really do.
Yeah, I have to look it up.
Winston Churchill. Wow. Well, Phil, do you have any other thoughts before maybe I'll throw a tune out there or something before we close?
No, it's great. Thank you for having me up.
Well, I'm glad you don't feel had too much, and it's been fun.
Uh-huh.
I've enjoyed you since day one. You are salt of the earth. I've always enjoyed you, and you know that's what you see is what you get. And I love people like you, and you know, it's refreshing. It really is.
Sometimes I'm hard to live with.
I doubt
It's
that.
always delightful being around you. So,
Well, I appreciate that. Let's see if I can find a song for us to go out with. I'm not
Okay.
sure what. Yeah. Geez, I may have canceled out that song.
thanks everyone. You just hit this telephone thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'll do? I'll go out with the words of James Tallarico, a congressman from Texas who's much younger than I am, and even you, Phil. I think that he had something kind of cool to say. We'll just let Sweet Wheat welcome to you. Sorry, we're just kind of winding up. Good to see you.
That's what we.
So let's go out with James Tallarico, who I think is a bright shining star on our political horizon. I really do.
I agree.
Yeah, good guy. You don't see him too often, but he's here. He's running for office. So thank you for
should
being
have him
here,
on.
Phil. I would
Welcome.
love to. I actually sent him an email, and he emailed back. I emailed him once, and but he doesn't really know much about me. But it would be delightful to have him. Okay, so here's James Tallarico to take us out. Thank you, Phil. Talk to you soon.
Yesterday, we saw flashes of the Iraq War. I'm 36 years old. I was 12 on September 11th, 2001. I saw the importance of keeping this country safe. As a millennial, I also saw how military disasters like the Iraq War robbed this nation of young lives, of billions of dollars, and of our moral standing in the world. How do you look a parent in the eye and tell them you sacrificed their child's life for big oil's bottom line? I've said from the beginning of this campaign that the biggest divide in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. And this new war is just the latest example of how billionaires run this country, run this economy, run this government, and now run our foreign policy. As U.S. Senator, I will never vote to send someone's son or daughter to war to make billionaires richer.
Thank you all for being here.